Okay. All right, we're back, and it is working now. It is working. Okay. All right. So hopefully I'll give you everybody a chance to get back on the stream here. Uh, Once we can get through. Sorry everyone. We're back. All right, now we are back on the AMA stream, and which means we can now properly do this. We can now get the alerts working. If they will allow it. Let's see. Oh, for fuck. God. God. We are having major malfunction issues here. Yeah, this... God damn it. This should be working, but it's not. I think it's because, like, the alert boxes are only triggered to Twitch, I guess. Which is dumb, because it shouldn't be doing that. Especially since I disconnected Twitch. Yeah. Went from moviesmark to movies for a minute. I do not get why this isn't working here. Come on. Replay. Okay. All right. I apologize for this. There were going to be alerts. They were going to be active, but I started the stream a little late. So I don't think they're working right now, unfortunately. But we do have some special fun stuff here. I will read off super chats for anybody who asked them. Yeah. God, that fucking shit shouldn't have worked. It shouldn't have happened. All right, but enough about that. This celebration stream, 50,000 subscribers, and for this I made some special videos. While I read the AMA, so I'll show you one. We'll show like a few as we go through the stream, but I made a few special videos like this one.
Excuse me, sir, did you know that these movies are woke trash?
You didn't watch those movies.
Well, no, I didn't actually watch these movies, but I heard somebody on YouTube say that they were woke trash.
Yeah, those YouTubers suck.
I don't appreciate your tone.
I don't appreciate your ruse, sir.
My what?
Your ruse. Your clever attempt to talk about movies without actually watching them.
I'm just telling you what I heard on YouTube.
And I hope it feels good.
You hope what feels good?
I hope it feels so good to repeat the opinions of others rather than form any of your own.
Yeah, I'm gonna leave and never talk to you again.
You won't be missed. So yeah, that's... Did a little clerk skit there. We'll have a few more as we get through the stream there. Cartoon49 says, favorite movies from the 90s. God, there's quite a few, man. Yeah, debating between a few. I mean, there's obvious ones like Pulp Fiction. Schizopolis, I thought was pretty interesting. What are some other ones? Like, well, Lost Highway, I really enjoy. It's a bizarre one. Like Schindler's List is a bit more of an important one. But I mean, if you want to go like, you know, fun stuff, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Let's see. There's all a clever riffs. Let's see. Cybrax says Mark wasn't even supposed to be here today. The alerts should be working, but I do not know why they're not. So, favorite movie from the Wachowski sisters, kind of torn on The Matrix and Speed Racer. Oh yeah, possibly The Matrix. You know, I don't know. There's a soft spot in my heart for Speed Racer, but also Bound. Bound is such a wonderful film. You know. Okay. Well, I did promise like AMA stream here, so we are gonna read through some of the questions that we got offered here. I wish we had the alerts working because they should be playing. Damn it, screw it. All right, enough of that. Enough technicalities. Let's get to the questions that you all submitted. This one comes from Vindy, who asks a couple of general watching questions. What's your favorite platform to watch movies that you don't? What's your favorite platform to watch movies you don't physically own? How do you decide what to watch on a day-to-day basis when there's so many movies so readily accessible? Do you ever worry about having too many movies you want to see and not enough time or energy to see them all? Well, there's always that concern, you know. Um, there's you kind of have to like manage your time about like what do you want to prioritize, like what looks interesting, what do you think would be unique to cover. And at least for me, like I'm more of like a generalist, so I tend to cover like a little bit of everything. So I said, well, what is this movie trying to do, and does it look like it could do that well? So if it's a horror film, does it look like it's gruesome or psychologically damaging? If it's romance, does it look like the characters have good chemistry? All those little elements that I take into account. As for how do you decide what to watch on a day-to-day basis when there's so many readily accessible, like I said, yeah, you look at the elements. And what's your favorite platform to watch movies that you don't physically own? It's a little tough there. I would say maybe like Criterion has like a really good like assortment, like a very a very different type of collect. What I love so much about Criterion is that they always every month they put out groups of films for like a specific category. So like one year, 1 month it's stunts, and then the next month it could be something like wuxia films, or the next month it could just be terrible films, just nothing but terrible films. And some months they have anime. They've actually added a lot of anime in the past few months, which I think is fascinating. So I love the assortment of movies on the Criterion, and like the rotating the rotating element of it. It kind of has that element that I kind of miss from Mubi. Like Mubi is still a pretty good platform for like art house stuff, but I feel like it doesn't cycle as much as like Criterion does. It just kind of feels like it grabs stuff more by directors than tone, and I think that's what interests me more than Criterion, more than Mubi, is the genre selection they have. So thank you for the question. Let's see. Gabriel Lockhart 9578 says, "What are your favorite movies from the early 2000s?" Ooh, that is actually an interesting question because I worked in a video store during the early to mid 2000s, and there was quite a few. A lot. I will say this: I know a lot of people. I know a lot of people have reservations about this film, but I actually like Lost in Translation. Lost in Translation, I love Bill Murray's kind of like almost easygoing acting, the way that he's not trying too hard for a laugh and he's able to muster it up. Like I especially loved that similar tone that he brought to to Jim Jarmusch's film Broken Flowers. So that was like the era of low key Bill Murray. Like you go from like that to I mean like you go from Lost in Translation to Life Aquatic to Broken Flowers. And that's kind of like the trinity of Bill Murray's like very almost like kind of like passively funny acting. So like I really do like Lost in Translation. Also, there's quite a few. American Splendor is maybe one of my favorite comic book adaptations of a movie. I really like that one. A documentary I really loved from that era was The Kid Stays in the Picture, which is about producer Robert Evans, who just like if you've ever heard Robert Evans before, and maybe this will unlock some memories for a lot of you older folks out there, but Robert Evans used to have a show on Comedy Central called Kid Notorious, in which he basically played an exaggerated version of himself as this, producer who just could do anything he wanted in Hollywood. And if you listen to his voice, like he's just fun for hearing his stories. And the documentary is mostly just Evans explaining himself, explaining his history, and telling all these fun stories about producing like The Godfather and Chinatown, and being very open about how he didn't understand this material. Like he remembers like hearing the pitch for Chinatown. It's like, oh, is it actually about like people living in Chinatown? It's like, no, it's about like, you know, like water and corruption and gangsters. And he tried to like describe it. And Robert Evans is like, oh, okay, I get it. And then he admits like, I had no fucking idea what this was supposed to be. And I just love the way that he would describe all the movies that he was producing. Like at one point, he describes like, oh, we had a few different films we were working on. We had Medium Cool, which was meant to appeal to youngsters in the 1970s, and then we had Paint Your Wagon, which is going to appeal to nobody. Just very blunt, very fun to listen to. But yeah, that's one of my favorite documentaries. There's quite a few, but I would say, you know, if I were to reduce it, it's probably like Lost in Translation, American Splendor, and The Kid Stays in the Picture. And there's probably a few others. There's quite a bit of anime back then, like Tokyo Godfathers. I remember really loving at the time. Satoshi Kon's, well, it's pretty much his only comedy, but nonetheless, still a very, very wonderful comedy, especially to watch around Christmas time, you know. Let's see. Noir41 says, congratulations on the milestone. Couple of questions. What's your favorite live action TV show? It's very sequential here, so I'll just start it. Yeah, what's your favorite live action TV show? It is kind of a tie between Twin Peaks, which like Twin Peaks has so many wild tones to it that it can be like completely serious and gritty and horrifying. And then there are scenes where just like it's ridiculous and it's like a straight up comedy or satire of police procedurals. So yeah, I really love Twin Peaks. But also another close one, which is why I tie with it, is The Twilight Zone. The original Twilight Zone from the late 50s going into the 60s. A lot of those stories are just like, they're timeless fables. And I go back and watch them time and time again, and they're just wonderful to watch. Like, don't get me wrong, they're not all great. Like, it's 5 seasons, and there are some that are really, really dated. In particular, there's one... Probably one of the most ridiculous ones I watched was there's an episode where somebody is being tortured by all of his electronic devices. So like the TV's torturing him, the radio's torturing him, and at one point his electric shaver tortures him. And then you realize why this episode was made. It's just to watch somebody get attacked by an electric shaver that kind of like dangles by a string, which is so goddamn ridiculous. But yeah, for the most part, the fables there, including a great one with Dennis Hopper, where he's horrified that he's essentially allowing Hitler to assert himself into America during the 1960s, is a really good episode. And it only gets better with age, you know. But yeah. Those are my choices. And for the second question, he asks, I want to learn how to review, analyze, and critique media. Would you be open to making a video on talking about your process? What's your approach, etc.? I want to learn how to do this, and your videos are great. Well, thank you so much. Well, the first thing that I would say is, and I got this advice from a lot of people when I was starting out, which is just write. Just start up a blog, you know, either through like WordPress or Blogspot. And just try to find any platform you have to express yourself, and try to find your voice. Just keep writing, and if you're not comfortable putting stuff out online, just write it down in a book, or you know, just get some paper and write it down and just practice it. And the more that you try, the more you'll find your voice, and the more that you will get used to it. And I guess just take notes of what you notice in a film, what it makes you feel, and read other reviews, because then you'll get an idea of where they're coming from and what matters to them. And once you understand that, you can understand what matters to yourself, which is a big thing. Because like I learned when I was writing that I care a lot about themes. I care a lot about themes, how they're expressed, and if there is a genuine message that comes through there that resonates that resonates really well with me. That's what I look for. There are other reviews look for different stuff. There's a lot of other ones that look specifically for character. There's a lot that look for cinematography, the right lighting, for special effects, like all these little details. And some people just look for everything, which is a little bit trickier. I mean, you can say you're reviewing everything, but truth be told, you're reviewing one aspect more than the other. And I think once you realize that, you can figure out what is most important to you, you know? Hobo Films did a super chat of $10. No questions, just enjoy what you make. Well, thank you so much, Hobo Films. Thank you so much. I'll read some of the chat here. PKP says, your thoughts on Tenet. Tenet, I think, is an interesting on a level where it is the special effects are interesting. I think my biggest problem with Tenet is the idea that everything is going backwards because it's already been ordained. Which really made me concerned, like, well, what's the point of caring about these characters and their plight and whether or not they're going to complete this mission when there are people going forward in time and there are people going backwards in time? But if they both converge at the same time, that means that more or less whatever they were trying to do already happened, which I think that's always kind of like the big problem with time travel movies, is like trying to delineate where the timeline breaks and what is trying to be saved. And that is the biggest problem with Tenet. Tenet preordains that you are not in control, even though you are the hero in this story. So yeah, I have major problems on a thematic level with Tenet. Like I said, that's one of the things I focus on the most, you know? Let's see. Twilight Zone has a hit and miss ratio of like 1 to 5, but when it hits, it really hits. It does. Like some of the best episodes, I go back to time and time again. Let's see. Animated 15 says time travel in movies and stuff is so fucky. It is, yeah. Let's get to another question here, submitted through the AMA. Yashin. I'm gonna mispronounce it. Yashinari Yanchandhuri says, will you review any movies from India? Some starters like Maharaga and Durhanda. I've seen this title before. I always miss it. Durandar and Durandar the Revenge. Yeah, Indian movies, there's a lot. They always pop up at the cinema, and they're always like epics. They're always like these big, massive films, and they always come out like on like a bi-weekly basis, and always pop up on streaming services that I always forget about them. Do I want to cover them? Sure. It's just that I kind of forget every now and then. It's the same. The same goes for a Korean and Hong Kong films, because there are a ton of Korean and Hong Kong films that come out every year, and I never quite get around to them. So, and it's weighing it too, because like a lot of Indian films, they are long. They're at minimum 2 hours with them. Some of them are 3 hours when you get up there. So it's more a matter of time. It's not that I don't want to cover them. A lot of Indian films I watch have been pretty fun. I did review one a few years ago, I think, called the Super. I'm gonna mispronounce it here, but like it's like the Super Boys of something. It was about a behind the scenes production of like an amateur version of like a superhero story made by some Indian dudes, and it was pretty fun. It does have that kind of it has like a tone of like it's very much a serious matter, considering that one of them is dying, but it has this tone of like Be Kind Rewind, but from like an Indian perspective, and I think on a more like genuine, earnest level, I think on in that regard. So it's a wonderful film. So yeah, I would love to review Indian films, and a few of them do come across my desk every now and then. But yeah, I really gotta go out of my way a little bit to see them. Like I didn't want to say like I gotta go far out of my way, because they're at the cinema, they're at the theater like every damn weekend. It's just a matter of like, you know, time. So I do want to cover some. I think maybe I'll get around to some somewhere in the future. One day I want to animated says, one day I want to sit down and watch RRR, but dang, lol, it's so long. It is, but oh man, is it fun. It is so much fun that the time will fly by. I guarantee. It is nonstop action and music and dance sequences, and it is so much fun. There's a reason it got into the Oscars, you know? All right. Whew. All right, let's see. Let's see, what is this one? DJ Salad says, least favorite bug? That kind of caught me off guard. The ones that smell when you crush them. Very smelly bugs, yes. That's my least favorite bug. Ash Parth Review says, what was the first movie you've ever seen in theaters? Congrats on 50K, by the way, Mark. Thank you so much. I do actually know this. The first movie I can remember seeing in a theater was All Dogs Go to Heaven. And I know for some people that might shock everybody. It's like, why would you go to see something so dark? Well, it was the late 80s. The Disney Renaissance hadn't quite hit yet. We were just getting Little Mermaid, but we were still getting all the dark stuff of Don Bluth. Because before I went to go see it in the theater, I actually watched on VHS The Land Before Time, another very bleak, dark animated film. But I just kind of accepted it at the time, and I think that embrace of like the darkness and the maturity I think that it placed on some of these animated characters, I found very fascinating at the time. So yeah, that was my first experience at the theater from what I recall. That's the only one I can recall. According to my parents, the first movie I ever went to when I was about 6 months old was The Money Pit. And I don't know why my parents would tell me this, but just apparently the first one I ever watched without actually watching it was The Money Pit. But yeah, the first one I remember watching was All Dogs Go to Heaven. Serdi Uix says, congrats. Question, how important do you think an understanding of the technical aspects of film making is for film criticism? And related, what are your favorite directors? Martin Scorsese, but also Jacques Tati. I really love the everything that Jacques Tati assembles visually in his films, especially like Playtime. Playtime is one of my all-time favorite films. So I love the way that Jacques Tati assembles his movies. But how important do you think an understanding of technical aspects to our art film criticism? Fairly common. I think that is something that I think a lot of people, I would recommend this too for anybody who wants to get into film criticism, is look up the technical specs of filmmaking. Because before I got into filmmaking, I studied animation, and concurrently with animation, I studied camera work and audio equipment as well. And the one thing, the one big criticism I have heard from filmmakers about film critics is that they wish they understood more of the technical aspects, that they looked into how special effects work, how compositing works, how to get like the right depth of field on the camera, how important lighting is, how important framing and blocking is. All these little aspects I think directors really want critics to understand so that they get an idea of where they're coming from. Because I think that is probably the most important thing that critics can do is convey the importance of that filmmaking and stress why it is so good, instead of just like pointing out all the weak points as well. But at the same time, though, I don't want to get bogged down in the technicalities, because then if you're just talking about the technical aspects, it almost comes off like, well, if you've got nothing nice to say about the movie, just talk about the sound or the or how clean the picture is or how nice the color grading is, just aspects like that. So yeah, it is an important element. Study the technical aspects of filmmaking, I think, which I do try to do. I try to look up aspect, even though I've studied a little bit of like camera work. It's always nice to go back and look at what goes into making film, which I do get with I get a Netflix quarterly magazine that has like a lot of like commentary from filmmakers and goes over a lot of their techniques and their design and stuff like that. And I always read that like cover to cover when I get it. Let's see. Read some stuff here. Let's see. Synthwave Wine says, "Would Speed Racer be considered an anti-capitalist film?" I think so, based on what Speed is fighting against. It could be seen as anti-capitalist. Yeah, it leans more towards that. Andrew Brulett says, "I already said it before, but congrats on 50K. Thank you so much, Andrew. So much. I think also be sure to check out Andrew's videos. What's like his Final Fantasy retrospectives. I did a voice in one of them. Try to find it if you can. I'm not going to tell you which one. Just watch all of them. You'll eventually find it. See, Andio Studio says, "What do you think of Clint Eastwood's films that he has directed?" They're always good. They're pretty good. There are a few that I have issues with. Like I don't like what was it, the 1517 movie. I thought that was really like a piss poor attempt. I think it was a gimmick movie more than anything. It was a gimmick saying like, oh, like here's this true story, and we got the real people who were there, and they're gonna act exactly as they did during that moment where they were at the right place at the right time, and it didn't do it for me. Like I get the feeling. I almost kind of feel like with that film, Eastwood was trying to be a little bit more Richard Linklater, because there's a lot of scenes where you're just hanging out with the characters and nothing much is happening. So like there's a scene where they're just exploring this city, and they go into a gelato shop and they look at gelato, they buy some gelato, they eat it, and they leave. There's not much of any interesting dialogue. It's just, three dudes going out to a gelato shop, and that is it. And I thought it would be more fascinating to just hang out with these characters, but it really wasn't. That by the time it gets to the very crucial scene where they like save lives, it comes off hollow. It just kind of feels like something tacked on at the end there. But for most of Eastwood's filmography, his films are pretty good. I actually kind of dug Cry Macho. It wasn't a great film, but it was pretty good. His last film, Juror Number 2, was amazing, fantastic film. I did like $1 Million Baby, not one of my favorites, but it's up there. And then he did was it Letters to Iwo Jima, Letters from Iwo Jima. That one I really enjoyed. So yeah, like Eastwood is a pretty damn good director. He's got his like faults here and there, but yeah. Let's see, ZB Genius says, "Mark, me and my girlfriend love your videos. Congrats. What do you think of Fury Road?" I love the shit out of Fury Road. Because I don't know if you could tell. I kind of like Fury Road. I don't know why. Why some people might ask me that question. I'm not sure why they think that, but yeah, Fury Road I really enjoy. I love Mad Max Fury Road. Let's see. Andrew Bill said, "I enjoyed Sully." I enjoyed Sully too. It's not a great film, but it's good enough. And it has a good performance by Tom Hanks. Didn't know he directed. Yeah, you'd be surprised. Eastwood has directed quite a few different films, which is what I like about him. Okay. I'm gonna get just like a little bit of a tea here on this side here. I'm not going on a break or anything. I just think it's about time that we played another one of my Clerk skits here. So enjoy this. Actually, since the super chat is not working here, there you go. I'm gonna take that up. All right. Actually, is it being counted, the little chat there? Is it? I don't know if it's going up there. No, it's not going up, unfortunately. All right. Well, that's okay. All right, here's another Clerk skit. See if you can remember. See if you can recall what this scene might be referencing from Clerks.
Say what you will about Christopher Nolan's Oppenheimer, but I thought it was pretty badass that he made an R-rated historical drama, in IMAX with sex scenes. Not many Oscar-winning films can boast about that.
I could never watch that movie.
What? Why?
I could never watch a movie with unnecessary sex scenes.
You think this has unnecessary sex scenes? No. If you want to see unnecessary sex scenes, you watch In the Realm of the Senses. Here, check this out here.
Oh my god.
Yeah, I'm still not sure how the egg didn't break during that scene. Movie magic, I tell you.
So yeah, you might recognize that scene from Clerks. And if you have seen the movie In the Realm of the Senses, you know what I'm talking about. All right, let's see. Let me get through some of the chat questions here. The first R-rated movie you saw before you were old enough. Oh God, I don't even remember. I do know I did watch a lot of horror films when I was young. I think I did watch all of the Nightmare on Elm Street films. I watched all of the Puppet Master movies. um, oh God, I did watch RoboCop a few times, but yeah, I think the only ones I can recall for sure I remember watching was stuff like A Nightmare on Elm Street. I think that might have been the first R-rated movie I watched, but there's been a few. It depends. Like, would you count cable? If you count cable, then there's probably quite a few. Like not cable, but like broadcast standard films. There were a few R-rated films I watched back in the day, like Life of Brian. Was interesting to watch the cable edit of that because they would blot out all the nudity. All right, let's see some more of the let's see more of the chat stuff here. I see a lot of Aggie says Augie says I see a lot of Criterion Blu-rays on your shelf. What are some of your favorites? Oh man, God, that's a tough one. I do really like the design of the Princess Bride. I just recently watched Pee-wee's Big Adventure. Pee-wee's Big Adventure has a great interview with Tim Burton on it that I really enjoyed. Um, I think no, I don't actually have that one over there. But yeah, there's a few others. Like God, it's tough to pick like a favorite because I have tons of Blu-rays that I love, but I just I can't pick one that easily, you know. Let's see. Andrew says favorite Kubrick film. I'm partial to Clockwork Orange myself. I do like Clockwork Orange as well. I think, yeah, it actually might be a Clockwork Orange. I was between that and Eyes Wide Shut. But I think Eyes Wide Shut, I think, is a little bit too grueling for me. I feel like a Clockwork Orange has like a little bit better pacing, I think. But it's close, you know. And I know that I know why that question came up is because Criterion announced they're doing a Kubrick box set, which is I would love to get, but it's a 4K combination Blu-ray disc, so everything is doubled up. So there's a 4K disc and a Blu-ray disc, which means it shot up to like 600. I think it's like $600 roughly, about. If it's on sale, then it'd be like 300, but still. See, Andrew Blewett says Eyes Wide Shut is a close second for me too, for sure. Yeah, that's a hard one to beat, just because there's so much to think about in that film. There's so much that your mind draws back to when you think about just how it proceeds, you know. Yeah, I'm just now seeing it with KJX on it with the Criterion Collection with Kubrick. I had a feeling that's why that question was asked. Okay, so pre-order is like $450. I think so. Yeah, I think it is. I think if you're a member, I think, because like I think the general retail price is around like 600, but I think if you are signed in as like a member or something like that, I think you get like 10% off. So I think that's the case. That's because what I see, because I'm subscribed to the Criterion channel, and that already gives you like 10% off or something like that. And then I think, if you have like an account with them as well. Just noticed the heavy metal on the top right. Hell yeah. Actually, yeah. The thing about that is, I'm glad I got that Blu-ray because like it's to be honest, it's not the best quality of Blu-ray, but the reason I wanted that is because like for the longest time I only had the high quality DVD release, which did not have any of the extras. And I wanted the extras so bad because like they have like the work print cut on there with Carl Masick doing the commentary. They have interviews, they have featurettes, they have deleted scenes. That's the stuff I loved from the original release that I rented at the video store. So that's why I'm glad I got that Blu-ray in particular, even though it's not the best quality. Aggie Boo says, okay, this is important, Mike or Joel. Mike's delivery is cracks me up more. So I gotta go with Mike. Yeah, Joel has like a passive ease to him, but I can hear a lot more of like the Midwest in Mike's performance on Mystery Science Theater. So that's, and I don't know, that there were more episodes with Mike. I just got more used to him. So but yeah, Mike is fun on that show. All right, where were we on the submitted AMAs? Let's see here. This one comes from Fight the Power Man. Says, favorite method for getting between railway stations at smaller two platform stations, bridge or tunnel? Or are you one of those perverts like having to leave the station entirely, crossing the tracks on foot and then I do not have experience with this, so I do not know what this is in reference to. Let's see. Will the Wolf says, will you do a video about your movie collection? I think eventually. I don't know if I want to do it for this video because I'd have to like grab the webcam and bring it close. I'd also have to grab the mic too and set it closer to do that. And then pull stuff off the shelf. But maybe eventually around sometime I'll get around to pulling stuff off the shelf, which I mean, that's just on the shelf. I have like shelves on the side here that y'all don't see. Like there's shelves beneath me. There's shelves behind my computer here and all that. There's stuff all around. Like what do I have right here? I have Ninja Scroll. Man, this is rare. This is a Hollywood video copy. I can see even like the little slit there where I'd put in the security lock. This is rare now because I think it's like out of print, and it's this version is anyway. And this would probably fetch a pretty penny, even though this is manga video. This is actually the Palm Pictures release, which I don't know if people know this, but like Palm Pictures and Manga Entertainment used to be under the same distributor. So when you would start up the DVD, like the original Ghost in the Shell, there'd be like trailers for, I'm not even kidding, there'd be trailers for like Fargo on those. But yeah, like Manga Entertainment DVDs, they weren't the best quality. They really weren't. Like, you couldn't tell back in the day, but you watch them on an HD TV now. These were not good transfers. But I won't go too much, but like, I got Escape from New York here as well, because Snape Plissken. Let's see. Guy Manly Production says, what is your top 5 of the decade so far? Of the decade? Oh my goodness. Assuming of the 2020s. You know, keep coming back to Everything Everywhere All at Once. That really left an impact on me. Resurrection, though, that was from last year. That's really up there for me. That is everything I love about movies is right in that film. So it's hard to get that out of my mind. But oh god, there's too many to choose from right now. Of the 2020s, I'd probably say like Everything Everywhere All at Once, Resurrection, Pig for sure. Pig, maybe one of my favorite Nicolas Cage performances ever, and God, like it's quickly rising up for me. But Nirvana, the band, the show, the movie, I really enjoyed that film. So I would have to go through everything and try to decide because it's really tough. CB Genius says, would you ever want to do a more relaxed video where you do a room tour collection show? Yeah, eventually. Dino Fury says, what's your favorite Sentai? Oh, I have not watched that many Sentai shows. So I don't know if I could say for certain. If I were to restrict myself to the ones I watched when they were localized, so you're talking Power Rangers, VR Troopers, Beetleborgs, and I think there was like Masked Rider, which was like Kamen Rider at the time, or a version of Kamen Rider. Between those, I kind of dug the designs more of Beetleborgs. That it kind of worked for me. I know, like, at a certain point they didn't use footage from that anymore, but Power Rangers was still fun back in the day. but I'm not a Sentai expert. I've watched some Sentai movies. Like I did watch that Kamen Rider movie from a few years ago by Hideki Anno, which I loved. Yeah, and this is coming from somebody who knows barely anything about Kamen Rider. So let's see. The guy is here for 249 says completely disagree with your opinion on Markiplier's acting. I thought he did well in Iron Lung. Still have your videos. Yeah, I mean, I I don't hate his acting. I just thought it was, compared to everything else, I thought it was like the weakest because I loved his directing. I thought his directing was good, and I loved most of his writing. I thought there was a good flow there to how the script was produced here. But yeah, like the acting, I just thought was like the lesser thing there. I don't think his acting's terrible. I think he mostly pulls it off. There's just a few lines here and there. It's like that I kind of would like the second take of that. Not that it was a terrible line. It's like maybe try it a little more, you know. Mad God. Oh, Mad God. Yeah, that's up there. Let's see. Abnormal Creed. Abnormal Creetoon says, willing to give it a try to review movies. Any writing tools to pen a thought out opinion? What long-lasting advice would you send to someone who aspires to critic film? Watch a lot, write a lot, and read a lot. Watch a lot, write a lot, read a lot. You know, like speak no evil, see no evil. Here's the watch a lot of movies, read a lot about movies, and write a lot about movies. And just you'll eventually find it. You'll eventually find what inspires you and what makes you want to discuss movies, you know. See, Hellblazer 1138 audio says, I'm not a Kamen Rider fan, but I suggest the anime from this year. Tojima wants to be a Kamen Rider. Okay, put that on my list. Hector Rodriguez says, are you going to make video game content? Maybe something Final Fantasy related. If only we had someone here you could claim. Yes, I know who that is. Yeah. There is some stuff I want to do on video game content. I've gotten very addicted to this video game called Retro Rewind, which is a video store simulator. Which, you know, as someone who worked in a video store, right up my alley. And I have a lot of thoughts. I'm currently playing through the game. I'm about 3/4 of the way through like the progress bar. But I'm about like 90% through all the achievements. Once I finish the game, I am going to compose some thoughts on it. Because I'm sure a lot of people would like to hear from, you know, somebody who worked in a video store, how a video store simulator works. But yeah, so far, I gotta tell you, I'm enjoying the game. It's a lot of fun. It's brought back a few memories. I love the pacing of it. I love the design, the atmosphere. It's such a fun game. If you haven't seen it yet, check it out. It's called Retro Rewind, video store simulator. It's only about like $20 on Steam. I've been having a blast with it. It's such a fun game. See, Synthwave Wine says, have you ever watched The Crow with Brandon Lee or read the original comic series it's based on? Haven't read the comic, have watched the movie. The movie's incredible. The movie is like, it's so good it makes me wish that there were more comic book movies like that in the 90s. Instead of like looking like Spawn. You know, the ones that have more interesting, like grim dark kind of like practical design to them. Because like the Crow, just the production design on that, just amazing. I love how that movie looks. All right, let's see. Okay, all right, back to the submitted AMAs. What do y'all got for me? Let's see. The Real Jim says, will you throw in a random basic question because I haven't seen you cover much anime? What are your favorite Studio Ghibli films? The top one for me, I can say for sure, is Princess Mononoke. Princess Mononoke, I saw when it came out in theaters in late 1999. Now, here's something here's a little bit of like insight into when that came out at the time. Princess Mononoke had a limited theatrical run. Now, the way that we interpret limited theatrical run nowadays is just that, oh, it's only at the art house theater, or it's only playing in like New York or Los Angeles. Now, I remember, like, because I used to, back in the day, I used to read, I have a copy of it here. I used to get all my anime info from Animerica. I used to read this. This was my magazine before like I started frequenting forums. And I remember there were a lot of stories from people who wrote in letters saying, well, we wanted to see Princess Mononoke, but it was only playing at a theater about like 2 to 3 hours away. So I remember reading all these letters, and then when I got on forums, I saw even more of this, of people making pilgrimages to see Princess Mononoke. And I felt bad because I don't have this story, because Princess Mononoke, like, cause I live in like the Minnesota Twin Cities at the time, and it released in like a good chunk of the theaters around there. Like it wasn't just that like there were art house theaters at the time. There was even more back in '99 than there are now. But it was playing everywhere. It was playing at the Mall of America. It was playing at local chains. Just like it was all over the place. So I remember going to see it that weekend and just being mesmerized. And this is kind of one of the things that made me realize that I want to get into film criticism, is just because that film took me out of my body. That film made me forget where I was, that I was in the theater, what time of day it was, what I was going to do after the movie, what I was going to do for lunch. I forgot all of that, just got mesmerized, sucked into the movie, and came out of the theater like I'd been like away from like the planet. So I had to go see the film 2 more times that weekend just because I loved it so much. I loved it so much that when the soundtrack came out, I immediately bought it and then just went home and just listened to it. And I don't mean just like I put it in the stereo and like did stuff in the background. I mean, I just put it in a stereo system with speakers and just sat there and listened to it. Like really listened to it. That's like the first soundtrack I bought that I really listened to. And then as it came out on home video, I remember it had quite a journey to home video, because for those who don't recall, Princess Mononoke was going to come out on DVD at the time, but without the Japanese audio. So it's just going to be English dubbed. And a lot of anime fans wrote into Miramax saying, "Don't do this. We want the Japanese audio." Because at the time, anime fans have been used to getting Japanese audio alongside the English dub audio in DVDs, which is a novelty at the time. Because on VHS, you had to decide, did you want English dub or did you want the Japanese audio? You can't have both. And he usually went with English dub because it was cheaper. But a lot of fans wanted it. So that ended up delaying the DVD release, and the VHS release came out early. But you couldn't buy the tape. You could only rent it at the video store. So I remember going to the video store and renting Princess Mononoke just so I could see it again. But yeah, that film, it still works on me. It brings me to tears. Joe Hisaishi's music still punches me in the gut every time that I watch it. I recently watched it in the theater a few years ago again. And I get to that moment where like the forest spirit takes all the negative energy out of the warthog, and the way that the music with Joe Hisaishi's composition and the swelling violins ripped my heart out immediately. I was on the verge of tears. That's how good that film is. So yeah, Princess Mononoke is easily my favorite. All right. Thank you for that question, Real Jim. The next one is from the Seer O'Fit. What's your favorite video game of all time? Alpha Centauri. I covered that in the Side Scrollers video, but among all the video games I played, I loved Alpha Centauri the most. I love the atmosphere. I love the little details of it. I love the weird sci-fi setting. And I had played like Civilization before it, and I loved it. So having like a sci-fi Civilization was just right up my alley, We'll go over to the chat for just a bit here. Liam Willis says, on a tangential note, it frustrates me when people are dismissive of animation as an art form and think of it as just something for kids. Unfortunately, most lecturers on my film course were like that. Yeah. I mean, I haven't experienced that much because I went to school for animation, so I think most of us already knew. Yeah, like animation's not just for kids because we were watching stuff like Ralph Bakshi and stuff like heavy metal and stuff like that. So we already knew, and even our teachers knew. Like even like I remember like my animation history teacher had a lot to say on Ralph Bakshi, which I found fascinating. I absorbed Bakshi's films when I got to college, so they're a big part. Let's see. Perchard08 says, Yo, Mark, congrats for 50K. Question: have you considered doing a video essay on the Eltingville Club comic series by Evan Dorkin? It's a legitimately great and relevant comic on toxic fandom culture. Yeah. Yeah, I've considered it. I've been trying to find... I mean, I did work it into one of my essays, but I think, yeah, it'd be worth talking about a little bit more. If only... I mean, even just to cover, like, the pilot, I think would be great. But yeah, it's I've read a little bit of the comic, not all of it, but I think didn't it just get like a new printing or something like that? I know it. I know like Dorkin did talk about like some new development with it, so I'll have to look into it because I've been meaning to read the rest of it. See, Animated 15 says, I'm loving this anime history time. Guess. Oh, it was a trip back then. Oh, tell you what, you know what? Since I have it in front of me, let me see if I can find because like these old Animericas are fun to like just flip through and look at all the old pictures, the old like listings for like laser discs and VHS at the time. The one I have here is like a very old one. This one's from like 95. Let me see if I can find any like wild pictures in here. Cause usually like people would like submit like a fan. Here we go. There we go. Got some fan art there. There we go. You can see like quite a lot of people into Urusei Atsura at the time. There's some Rama in there as well. And here's the thing. If you can actually track down an Animerica from around like 2003-ish, there is actually one that has a letter from me in there. If you can find it. So yeah, there's a little time capsule for you. All right, let's keep going through some of these AMAs. Let's see. The 25-cent man says, totally deserved. You're absolutely one of the best in the scene these days. Thank you so much. Maybe a strange question, but have you ever seen a terrible movie that you think had a genuinely positive impact on the way you viewed the world? Oh, yeah, for sure. I was trying to think. There was one that was a little too dark that I don't think I could mention there. I was trying to think of a bad film that would positively impact the way that you viewed the world. I think, it's a little tougher for me to like think about that because like usually I don't think about terrible movies as much. I guess maybe like The Room because I did go to like a midnight screening of it. Where everybody was like joining in and like I guess like that made me realize like the joy of like bad movies is like when you have like a crowd with them. But I think that's what most people learn when like they go to a midnight screening like that. So in terms of anything like more unique than that, I would have to think back quite a bit, I guess. Let's see. Loc95 says, if you didn't take film critique, what career path would you have taken? Ooh. I've had a few jobs. I think maybe web development or animation, which I have done. I have done animation jobs and web development jobs, but I think yeah, like I originally went to school for animation, so I might have been more of an animator. I mean, I do tinker with animation here now and then, but possibly more of like a CG animator or like a pretty much CG. And I did do some like hand-drawn, frame by frame 2D stuff back in the day. And by that I don't just mean like Flash. I mean like I actually had like the light table and paper and actually did like the process of getting the camera and clicking it. That scene from Rocko's Modern Life. But yeah, those paths as well. Which Which, yeah, that's the other career path. But I mean, outside of that, if you're talking like a career that like I haven't done before, like I haven't had a job, I don't know. I kind of enjoy baking. I could maybe be a baker. I just enjoy it. I don't know if I'd be like a professional one. So let's see. From the chat here, Dino Rocker says, "What film adapted from a novel do you prefer to the book? And what novel do you prefer to the film adaptation?" Um, I kind of prefer No Country for Old Men over the book, just because I'm not that big a fan of Cormac McCarthy's writing. His writing's fine, but like, man can't use commas. He has such an aversion to them. But in terms of like a book that I enjoy more than the movie, God, that's a little bit of a tough one. I'm sure there's like quite a few. Like there's I would say, okay, here's one. I do enjoy Dune the book more than David Lynch's Dune. I think I'd say that, yeah. Puddock says, "Do places still do midnight screenings on that? Throw stuff at the screen level besides that one theater showing Rocky Horror Picture Show?" um, there are some like Alamo Drafthouse does like what are called like experience screenings, where they encourage you to like do stuff at the screening, like sing along or make noise with something or use a prop, something like that. So Alamo does kind of facilitate those kind of screenings. I don't know how many art house theaters still do it, because I don't think too many of them exist now. Like there used to be in Minnesota, like in Uptown, there used to be like 4 or 5 art house theaters. Now there's only one. So, but I do know there was the Uptown theater, the main one that showed Rocky Horror, where they did encourage that type of stuff. So yeah. Let's see. Snack2851 says, "Anime movie recommendations, top Studio Ghibli film, Princess Mononoke." Went over that. But outside of that, Royal Space Force Wings of Oniamis, which I went over in the Rev video. But that is one of my favorites. That film really resonates. I love the score is mesmerizing. Ryuki's score is beautiful in that. Yeah, those are my topics. The guys here said, "Have you seen Vampire Hunter D?" Yes. Or its sequel, Vampire Hunter D Bloodlust? Also yes. If so, what's your thoughts? Personally, I love them. I like them too. I like both of them. I'd say I probably like Bloodlust a little more, even though I did find it anticlimactic compared to the original. Like, the original is neat, but the animation feels off in some of like the timing, and it just like there's this very off tone where it feels like you're not seeing like a completed film at times. Even though there are a lot of shots that look there are a lot of shots that look gorgeous, but then there's a lot of scenes with the animation where it just kind of doesn't match some of the more static shots in that film, which is kind of common to anime on a budget. It's just, and it's not the worst. Like, if you want the worst, you go to MD Geist. And what was that other one? Oh, The Humanoid, stuff like that. But yeah, there you go. Animated 15 says, "Oh my God, Army." Oh yeah, the Army Hammer movie. Yeah, I have not seen that yet, but yeah, Uwe Boll is such a weird director. It's weird too, because like it seems like he's kind of directed the same movie ever since Postal. Like, all his films kind of had like that same vibe of the same anti-hero character. It's bizarre, let's see. My girl from M7Y says, "My girlfriend and I recently watched The Assistant, and we defined it as a horror movie. Thoughts?" Yeah, I would define it as horror. I think it is it is so weirdly psychologically damaging that I would count it as horror. All right. Oh yeah, Perfect Blue is another great one. All right, some more of the AMA chat here. God, we have so much more to go here, so I'll try to breeze through some of these. Let's see. In-frame Out says, congratulations, you're consistently one of my favorite writers, commentators, and appreciators of film, and the success is just a fraction of what you deserve. My question, there is a growing phenomenon where anti-woke grifters are held hostage by the radicalized purity tests of their own audience, such as when the Critical Drinker was labeled a shill, race traitor, and so on by his fan base for just enjoying Masters of the Universe. Where do you see this escalating feedback loop going, where a creator is forced to push outrage constantly, the fan base comes to crave only that outrage, turns on the creator the moment they deliver anything else, which in turn breeds an even stronger commitment to outrage? I think it's just it's just like the chickens coming up. What's the term here? It's just all the lies are just coming out here. I think a lot of people had been coasting on these people for telling them what they wanted to hear, and then when it becomes clear that it is more of like a grift, it's just they're going to start abandoning them in mass. And I think that's the problem. Is like if you are going for that grift, there is a script and there is a connection you have to make with that audience to keep it going. And I think that is that is a problem that runs into these people. It's like they have, and I think the problem is they set up so much vitriol that has to spill into everything that when they get to a movie they like, they're in this conundrum where it's like, do I admit that I like it? Because if I do, it's going to make me seem hypocritical from when I got all angry at this film and said that none of these types of films should be made and that we shouldn't go to this area and we shouldn't show these types of stories and that this studio shouldn't proliferate. And then there's like a movie that comes out and then it contradicts that. And I think that's the problem. It's like when you try to sell that, it's going to fall apart. So yeah, and I think you're seeing that with a lot of these grifters now. So you're watching everything fall apart for them. And I'm glad because like a lot of people, I know I make a lot of videos based on a lot of these grifters and these anti-woke people. But if for some reason, their entire apparatus just collapsed and there were no more anti-woke YouTubers to cover, I would still be covering movies. Which I do. I have my masculinity movie series. I have my little, more artistic, voiceover video essays where I talk about, video game movies and the Despicable Me movies and stuff like that. And I do movie reviews. The primary reason why I target the anti-woke and the YouTube grifters is to basically remove oxygen from that type of apparatus. To course correct... what's the word I was looking for here? To debunk. That's what I'm trying to do. So debunk, but debunk on a mass scale and then give a direction of where to go. Which is why I usually try to end all those essays by saying, okay, this person sucks, but I mostly care about movies. Here's a great movie. Here's what it reflects about what I'm talking about. Go check that out. Because that is the most important thing to me, because I care about movies. I don't just care about this scene as much. I care about what gets spat out here, because you start seeing the toxic byproducts of it. You said oh, well, I really enjoyed this one. It's like, well, did you hear it was woke trash or it promoted pedophilia? It's like, what the fuck? Where there was nothing like this. I watched this video, and then you see the video. It's like, this is bullshit. What? And that's why I try to redirect the conversation, remove the oxygen, take away from the algorithm in that degree. So, yeah, that's what I try to do. And thank you so much, In-Frame Out. In-Frame Out actually mentioned me in one of his best of the year videos, so I very much appreciate that as well. So let's see. What do we have next here? Okay, Matthew Paul Rawlings says, "Who are current YouTube essayists on film and media at your level who you enjoy or aspire that you'd recommend?" I enjoy listening to Double Toasted with Corey Coleman and Martin. Although I do love Martin more because I've been listening to like Corey and Martin from the days when they had Spill.com, in which all their video, their movie reviews were in animated form, in addition to a podcast format. And I loved their reviews, especially I loved like C. Robert Cargill was on there before he became a big screenwriter on stuff like Doctor Strange and The Black Phone. So yeah, Spill was a trip. And I still enjoy listening to Corey and Martin to this day. Although Martin has a lot more experience because he's much more older than Corey, so he has that in him. But Martin I find more entertaining. No offense to Corey. Corey's still fun. Corey still puts on the pretty good voice. He has good volume to him. I love listening to him. But they have pretty good insights, and they are thoughtful. They're not afraid to cover a variety of films, which I think is kind of a problem I see here on YouTube. It's like there are a lot of people who just get into like talking about movies, like, oh, I'm going to talk about like the blockbusters and the superhero movies, and then they get to a serious film and like a Martin Scorsese picture, and then they don't know what to say about it. They're at a loss for words. Which again, if you are getting into film criticism, watch a lot of movies, not just the big stuff, because if you just watch the big stuff, you're going to get to like like the more serious dramas and the more acclaimed films, and you're going to be scratching your head. And I don't want that for anybody. Because there was, I will not reveal them, who they are, but there was one movie reviewer here on YouTube who said that going to see Killers of the Flower Moon, which I'll grant you this, that movie was long. It's 3.5 hours. But they said going to a Martin Scorsese movie is like going to the DMV. It's like you don't want to go there, but you kind of have to as a film reviewer. It's like you view going to a Martin Scorsese film as a film reviewer is a chore. That should be like the highlight of your. I love the shit out of Killers of the Flower Moon. It was wonderfully assembled. It was blunt. It was brutal. It had fascinating angles to pursue. It had very gritty dialogue, and just had like great historical context to like Native American murders. Just fantastic filmmaking. Why would you view that as a chore? I'm sorry, but like that should be the highlight of your day. After going through all like superhero movies that are all kind of samey, then you get a Martin Scorsese. That's like eating McDonald's all day, and then you get like like a perfectly grilled cut of like Kobe beef that has been perfectly prepared with like a great sauce on the side for like nice vegetables, and you have it like paired with a nice wine, and you're acting like, oh, this is like the food I gotta eat before I get dessert. It's like, come on, man. I mean, not all of Scorsese. Yeah, depending on the Scorsese film, it can feel like a chore. It depends. It depends on the Scorsese film. I know there are some who are not that big on The Irishman. I thought The Irishman was all right. It's not my favorite Scorsese film. There are a few I really wasn't big on The Color of Money. That's definitely low on the list for me. But Scorsese films are always long. But usually like they are about something more profound, like stuff like Age of Innocence or Silence. Silence, oh man, that film transfixed me. Let's see here. Okay, yeah. Back to the AMA questions here. IAR mashup says, my 2 questions: what kind of music do you like listening to, and what are your thoughts on separating the art from the artist? Well, for the art from the artist, it's a case-by-case basis. I think it is very much dependent on if you can if you can look past that to see what the art is communicating, you might be able to do that. Now, in some cases, if it directly affects your life, the biggest example, of course, being J.K. Rowling, obviously you can't. Like if you deeply care about trans people and the plight they're facing, you can't really support Harry Potter to that degree. And if you can, it's on you, but for a lot of people you can't, and that's very understandable. So yeah, art separating the art from the artist, case by case basis, and it is not easy. And not to mention, even if I can separate the art from the artist, I do not hold it against people who cannot, because like I said, it is a preference on whether or not you can handle it or not. Because that's the unfortunate thing, is because there are a lot of movies that were made by some pretty scummy people. It sucks that what's his name, oh god, the pianist director. Why am I blanking it's because I think I probably blocked this director out, uh but yeah, like his film, he's actually made some really good films. It's just like and then you have to like deal with the fact that he was a pedophile and a sexual abuser. So it's stuff like that. You kind of, you can't separate the art from the artist there too much. You can try, because he has made some good films before, and you could take it within the context, but you still can't defend him. Roman Polanski, that's it. Roman Polanski and Woody Allen, because Roman Polanski and Woody Allen, they've both made incredible films, fantastic films. But then you hear what they did, it's like, then you can't really support them anymore. Now it's easier to now because I don't know how many people know this, but Polanski and Woody Allen, they're still making movies. They're not getting as many distributors to back them, but they are still making movies. And it is much easier now to just say like, nah, not gonna watch it, not gonna review it. And the thing is, like, because I did actually see like a few of Woody Allen's films, like from the 2010s, and they were I watched them just to make sure, like, okay, is he still trying to make good films? Is he still like trying to make waves here? And they're not good. I watched like Wonder Wheel and Cafe Society, and they sucked. So it's like, no, there's nothing here, and there's no reason to support Woody Allen at this point. So, Toaster Bone says Sleeper still rocks. Yes, Sleeper's really good. Sleepers and Manhattan are what, and then of course like Annie Hall are wonderful films. It was like Hannah and Her Sisters, yeah. Yeah, it's tough. So yeah, I don't blame anybody who can't do that. But also, to get to the other question of what kind of music do you listen to? I like listening to electronic music and orchestral music and some occasional rap now and then. So I'll listen to stuff like electronica, like Carpenter Brute. I really love a little more poppy, but I love Battle Tapes. I bought like 2 Battle Tape albums just because when I first heard them in the Invincible cartoons, like, oh, this track kicks ass. Who is this? And I found Battle Tapes and looked them up. It's like, oh, this music rocks. So I ended up buying 2 of their albums. Orchestral stuff, I do, like I said, I'm big into movie soundtracks. So like Joe Hisaishi's music, like I said, I bought that soundtrack. John Williams' usual scores are pretty good, but Jerry Goldsmith's scores really, really resonate with me for some reason. Also, Leonard Bernstein did a fantastic score for Heavy Metal, which I actually own the vinyl for that, because it's very rare to find that soundtrack. Because most people, when they think of Heavy Metal, the movie I got up there, they think of the 80s rock inclusions in that film. So stuff like, and don't get me wrong, the album that has the 80s rock in it is really good. It's like, it's got stuff like Cheap Trick and Blue Oyster Cult. What's that other one? Was Dio in it? I think Dio was on there. And then I think like Devo as well. But yeah, tons of, like Stevie Nicks, tons of great artists on there. But Leonard Bernstein's score was so epic and beautiful, and I loved the shit out of it. So yeah. And as for rap, I love me some well, it's a lot of people listen to like Notorious B.I.G., but I also like MC Lyte. And a little bit of Wu-Tang Clan every now and then is pretty fun. And I'm trying to think what other rap artists I might might listen to a little bit more. There's a few ones I just get stuck on. I've been stuck on like a lot of like MC Light songs. That and like Notorious B.I.G. will always like pop up every now and then. Let's see. Stefan says, Mark, on the subject of film scores, do you think there's a good way to balance a film score with licensed music? Oh, sure. Yeah, if you can find the right tone. Perfect example is heavy metal. Heavy metal actually incorporates the rock music when it needs to work, when it needs to be like, driving, and when it needs to like set like an easy flowing tone. And then when it gets to like the fantasy segments of that movie or the horrifying segments, that's where it kicks in. That's where Bernstein's score kicks in, and it's mesmerizing. And it perfectly fits the tone there. Perfect example. Like in the final sequence of heavy metal, there's a giant like epic fantasy story, and for like a scene where there's like they're pillaging a city and killing everybody, they play Mob Rules, which is a hard driving heavy, like here comes the city, that kind of music, perfectly placed there. But then when you get the big flying sequences en route to the city, that's when you have like this mesmerizing, haunting choir type of music playing over it. That's a good balance there. So perfect example right there. Nina says, hey, I love your essay videos. Congrats on 50K. And have you watched the finale of Digital Circus yet? I have not. And once I do, I will give you my thoughts on it. I will eventually get around to it. I know my kid's been begging me to see it, so. Pallid Alex says, with you having to focus so much on newer movies, do you feel like you don't get to watch enough older movies from, say, the 20th century? A little bit, but I think I do keep like a fine assortment of older films on the side here to go back to. But also I keep the Criterion channel on hand because they do have a lot of older films there as well. So every now and then I'll pop on something from there. Or if I get a good idea for a video essay that could relate back to like an older film, I'll go back to that as well. So, but yeah, there's a lot of wonderful older films. Like just recently, a few nights ago, I watched Monty Python's The Meaning of Life again, and it was hilarious, and it's actually inspiring. Because there are some films where if I go back and watch them again, they spark different ideas and inspire me to write something different. And that actually happened. Like, I've seen Meaning of Life at least like 10 times, and I watched it again, and it's like, wow, I like the pacing, I like the satire they set up, and it gave me a good idea for a script. So like immediately when it was done, I started jotting down a few notes for something else I wanted to write. So that's the power. Like if a movie is really good and you go back to it, no matter the age, it can inspire you. See, Freddy3715 says, hey, I've noticed the Sam & Max sticker you have proudly on your shelf. What got you into the series, and do you think you'll cover the TV show sometime? Well, that sticker actually came from the DVD set for the Sam & Max cartoon, because you can see it's the same cartoon designs that they had for that show. I got into that cartoon back in college because I'd missed it, but this was during the age where we were all kind of like getting like downloading like recordings off television, and somebody had all of Sam & Max, and I think this show's fantastic. It only lasted one season. It's like, damn. But so by the time it got on DVD, I had to buy it. So I did play a little the PC game when I got like when I became a teenager. I because it was much cheaper to get it in the early 2000s. Yeah, I love Sam & Max. Savant says, oh wow, I'm super curious about your thoughts on Meaning of Life. By far, it's one of the one Monty Python film I've got the most mixed thoughts on. I think, surprisingly, a lot more of it has aged much better than I thought it would. I liked the philosophical focus. I love how it never quite... It never strayed off too much. Like there was always that deeper connection to what it was trying to say in each one of like the segments, that I think like the compartmentalization of it into chapters worked really well. And I thought it wouldn't, because I remember having watched like Holy Grail and Life of Brian, I thought Meaning of Life was going to have like a long form narrative to it as well, and it kind of didn't. It was mostly just a collection of skits, but they were really good skits, and I love the music in it as well, especially since like in science class, this was like a junior high. Our science teacher actually let us listen to the Universe song from Meaning of Life, but he had to perfectly like edit it as well, because like if you're familiar with the song, there's there's a bit of an interlude in there where there are no lyrics and it's just like the music, and there's a scene of a grid turning into a woman that gets impregnated by the universe. So you kind of had to like skip through that. Just like no, just focus on the lyrics, kids. Don't watch the visuals here. See, let's see. Palax says, a great answer. Thanks for taking my question. I really try hard to balance newer and older movies as newly converted cinephile. Oh, fantastic! But you're in for an amazing journey. All right, we need to get through more of these questions because we still got more. We still got more. We still got how many pages we got left? Like 6. Okay. All right, let's see. G-Zone says, do you have any guilty pleasure movies, or are you one of those guys who feel no guilt about what you enjoy? Yeah, I kind of fall on that, like, don't feel guilt, because that's the problem of always like mentioning guilty pleasure films, because if you enjoy these films that are like really bad, or you know that they have elements that you'd usually scrutinize, but you still enjoy it, it's like you don't feel bad about it. You know? And I remember I went to a convention one time where I was on a panel where we were talking about guilty pleasure movies, and and we essentially like broke it down. So, well, I don't really consider it guilty pleasure, and someone else was like, yeah, I don't either. And the person who was hosting the panel said, well, did we just like destroy the idea of this panel? What? I guess like if we're focusing on stuff that makes a movie bad or laughable, I would say maybe Kung Pao Enter the Fist, because it's cheap, it's ridiculous, it's not well composited, a lot of the jokes are just stupid, but I laugh every time. I laugh so hard. I think that was the first time I kind of had to grapple with the idea of a guilty pleasure movie, because I know a lot of people, a lot of critics at the time really did not like that movie. But it is one of those films that is just so ridiculously stupid and persistent with its absurdities that it tickled me the right way. And I think that's kind of like the interesting thing about a comedy, is that you can really only judge it whether or not you laugh. And if you laugh a lot at a movie like that, then it's a good film. There isn't much more to say on that. You really don't have to defend the movie more than that. Just say like, well, it made me laugh. And it did. Kung Pao made me laugh so much. Let's see, Runamine says, Meet the Feebles is stupid, vulgar trash, and I love Dirty Man. Oh, yeah, for sure. Oh, Meet the Feebles. Wow. You want to see like, I remember watching that after watching Bad Taste, because this was during the time where Lord of the Rings was coming out, and a lot of these distributors were grabbing everything Peter Jackson had worked on previously. So they grabbed like Dead Alive or Brain Dead had been out for a while, so I watched it. I was like, oh, this is wonderfully gruesome. But then Bad Taste came out. I was like, oh, this is even more ridiculous. And then I eventually saw Meet the Feebles, and it was just that was as far as like I think Jackson could push the envelope. Like the puppets doing drugs and having sex with each other and murdering each other, and they're contracting AIDS, and they have giant boobs. It's all the ridiculous, absurd stuff, and it's vile. I think that's what I love so much about it. It's like Peter Jackson wanted to make the Muppets, but make it vulgar and vile, and he accomplished it in spades. Wonderful film if you like gross movies, which I kind of do. So, Hunter W6Z says 2 questions. What's your favorite Yautja from the Predator movies? And 2, who's your favorite synthetic from the Alien Predator movies? Ooh, I don't know. Predator Badlands has kind of both there, but I think, I kind of like the first one from 2004. And I say that as someone who really didn't like that film. I think probably the best thing I can say is that I like the design. And as for like synthetics, I mean, Bishop, I really liked in Aliens, and mainly because I watched Aliens a lot when I was a kid. Actually, going back to that R-rated comment, that might have been the first R-rated movie I watched, was Aliens, because I loved the shit out of Aliens, and I remember I had an Aliens toy at the time, like that like yellow mech that Ripley gets into at one point and says, "Get away from her, you bitch." There was a toy of that, and I had that toy. Just to give you an idea of who was watching those films at the time, because that was me as a child. Air Conditioning 2183 says, "What's your favorite storytelling medium that isn't movies, and why?" I mean, aside from television, might be an easy one, but I'd say books. Books, I think, are wonderful, and I think that the access that we have to them with like libraries and just like the means that we have as individuals to write them, I think is fascinating, because you don't have to worry, if you've got great ideas, want to tell a wonderful story, you don't have to negotiate like a production budget, stuff like that. You mostly just have to account for, the printing and the covers and maybe the artwork if you don't want to design it yourself. And then you could just assemble your story from there. And I love just like the freedom that books offer there. So yeah, that's, and also like, because I have a lot of books as well. I'm surrounded by a few books here. I've got some Kurt Vonnegut below me, but I don't want to pull it out here. I do have I do read lots of film books, so I've been reading I've been reading like a collection of essays from Film Reader, among some other film related books. Like there's a book on cult movies I recently got. There's a there's a new book out from Turner Classic Movies I was reading last night on pre-code era movies. So stuff like Freaks and Scarface and the Divorcee, all these like risque films from like the pre-code era. So it was wonderful to like read through all the different little information and the history behind that. And from what I haven't looked at the date, but I think it was just printed this year. So it's a fascinating read. I would highly recommend that book. Let's see. Hector says, "Mark, have you watched the documentary Aliens Expanded? It's 4.5 hours of alien goodness. Another mega doc." I have not, but I want to get around to it. I did watch that 2-hour doc from about 6 years ago. What was it called? Like I'm blanking on it, but there was I think it was, no wait, it was called Memory. There was a documentary on aliens from about 6 years ago called Memory. I do remember watching that, and I remember enjoying it. So I will definitely watch Aliens Expanded. I think it should be on Shudder. So I'll definitely have to check it out on Shudder, because I do like those mega docs. I did get through In Search of Darkness from the late 90s, and what a trip. Especially for having grown up in the as a teenager in the late 90s. That was my jam, so I had to watch that 5-hour masterpiece. Let's see, Infernus Ryzen says, "Congrats on 50K. As for my question, I have to ask, if you were to direct a film, what type of concepts would you like to explore, and how would you direct the film to explain them?" Well, I'm really fascinated by science fiction. I think mostly because I think science fiction is a wonderful means of telling a fable. I think you can find a lot to relate to in that, which is kind of like why I love the Twilight Zone so much. So I would probably direct like a sci-fi film, more like a sci-fi satire akin to Starship Troopers and stuff like that. I would love to make a film like that. Wicked Desu says, "You make lots of ICP jokes in your videos." From what I recall, I only made like 2 or 3 in the past year. Did you used to be an ICP fan? Whoop whoop Mark. If you did so, do you have a favorite car? I'm unfortunately I'm unfortunately not down with like the Insane Clown Posse as much. I do listen to their music. I did listen to it quite a bit back in the days when I would have like compilation albums like the Hard and the Heavy and stuff like that. But yeah, I'm not a juggalo. I'll say that I'm not that big into them. I do listen to their music now and then, and I do like the personalities of the people involved with ICP. Let's see. Dalen says, I'm honestly hoping you haven't reviewed that Scary Movie 6 film yet. That's one's not worth your attention. I think there is something I want to talk about. I do want to talk about it eventually, but I don't want to discuss it at the moment when it's currently in theaters. Because the thing with Scary Movie 6 is that a lot of people, I think, are flocking to it for nostalgia. And I say that because the director on Scary Movie 6 has directed the other Marlon Wayans spoof movies, which have all been horrible. Like, we're talking A Haunted House 2, and 50 Shades of Black. They're unwatchable garbage. And it's the same team that worked on those films, working on Scary Movie 6. So it doesn't surprise me that the film also would suck. I've been down this path before. The Foolish One says, only discovered you this year, but you've quickly become one of my favorite content creators. I love your vids so much. Your takes on things are so great. I especially love your videos on good and bad autism rep in movies. I am autistic, and so are many of my family, including my 9-year-old little cousin. So it matters a lot, I feel, to have a good video to show my aunt if she should want info on said topic. P.S. I hope you know that me and my best bud call you Serious Al because you sound just like Weird Al to us. Could be the hair too. As a question, I'm curious what your top 5 comedy, horror, sci-fi, drama, and action movie is. Please and thank you. Oh man, I would have to think about that. Oh god, that is a lot to choose from there. I tell you what, I will settle for. Tell you what, I will settle for sci-fi. For the top 5 sci-fi, I would say top of my list would probably be Fantastic Planet. Fantastic Planet always resonates with me. I always get something out of it every time I watch it. I love it. Beautiful film. Next on that list would probably be I'm debating between Empire Strikes Back. Actually, you know what? I'll do Blade Runner. It has been one of my favorite films, so I'll go Blade Runner there, and then probably Empire Strikes Back, and then let's search like there's too many. Like I really have to think hard on this one. I always get screwed up with like top 5 and stuff like that. I can tell you 5 movies in general that I like. Maybe like maybe Superman would count as sci-fi. Maybe, I mean, kind of like a superhero film, but it's got sci-fi elements about an alien. So Superman is one of my favorite movies. So I'll settle for those 3. Sorry I couldn't do top 5. I'll read through some of the chat here. Let's see. What are your thoughts on Wes Anderson? Wes Anderson, I still like him. There are a few of his films that I'm not as keen on. But even his films that I felt like were kind of lukewarm, kind of like what's that? The French Dispatch and the Darjeeling Limited and Bottle Rocket. I think those are his weaker films, but I still kind of like them. I'm also kind of, I've kind of grown to like Life Aquatic less and less the more I watch it. The more I watch it, just kind of feels less deadpan and more dead every time I watch it. It lessens the impact the more I watch it. So, but I always appreciate it. Like Anderson always puts a lot of work into his films, like a lot of, especially into like the colors and the lighting. So I think that goes a long way. He's a very idiosyncratic director that I think, not many directors have that distinctive a style. So, but yeah, I do appreciate his films, if nothing else than for the way they look. And because I remember like what was his last film? What was it called? The Phoenician Scheme. I remember I wasn't that big on the Phoenician Scheme. I think that's actually one of his weaker films. And I say that only because like I actually really enjoyed Asteroid City, because Asteroid City actually dealt with like existential dread in a very meaningful way, and the Phoenician Scheme I felt was a little bit too compartmentalized with that same theme to make it that effective. So yeah, that's how I feel. Just in case anyone thinks that I love all Anderson films, I don't, because I only thought the Phoenician Scheme was okay. Let's see. Thoughts on the podcast Blank Check with Griffin and David. They're all right. I've listened to a little bit of them, not a lot where I could say that I have a big opinion of them, but yeah, they're all right. Can you do some more Chris Gore bashing? I've watched your videos on that douche at least 3 times. I don't know how much more there is to bash. I mean, I've seen other people cover him like Eric Debunks, and it just seems like more of the same. Just seems more of the, complaining about gay characters and woke stuff, all the usual BS. So I don't know what more I can say on that topic. Let's see. Campbellzilla says, "What's your favorite movie that never got made?" Mine is the 1980s animated adaptation of Will Eisner's The Spirit that would have been directed by Brad Bird. That is... Yeah, I would have liked to have seen that as well. That is a tough one, and I wish I could remember. There actually is a book specifically on this topic. I believe it's called The Best Movies Never Made. I guess, like, this is a little bit of a cheat, because the film was made, and it but it has never seen the light of day, and that's the day the clown tongue twister here, The Day the Clown Cried, which is a Jerry Lewis film about a clown during the Holocaust, and it's been teased many times, saying like, oh well, it's we're gonna release it, it's coming out. We've got clips from it. We've got some stills, but we're never gonna see it. In terms of a movie that I would like to see made that didn't get made, I'm trying to think of one that I'm trying to think of like one from the book, because there were a lot of them. A film that wouldn't have been made. Yeah, I would like to see Batgirl. I kind of would have actually, I kind of would have liked to have seen the version of the man called of the Don Quixote film that what's his name? The Monty Python dude. Why am I blanking on his name? Terry Gilliam. Terry Gilliam's Don Quixote film. I know it did get made, but it got made with a much different cast. I would have liked to have seen it with the original cast that he had in mind, even though the actor was pretty old and you couldn't get the same people in the parts now. But I would have liked to have seen that film, just because the documentary on it of Lost in La Mancha was pretty interesting about the problems with trying to make that movie work, And an animated adaptation of The Goon got announced with a trailer but never released. That's true. I do remember that. I do remember that, and I was like, "Oh man, this looks amazing! I want to see this." And then we never got it. Yeah. Oh, you know what might have been fascinating? It could have been a disaster, but I'm kind of curious. At one point, Robert Rodriguez said that he was going to direct a Jetsons movie. And I'm kind of curious what he would have done with it. If he would have gone like more of like the Speed Racer route by leaning into the exaggeration and maybe putting a thematic core over it, or going the weird dark route. Because I don't know if you've all read there's a Jetsons comic that is like, it is so existentially horrifying how they frame that comic. that I kind of would like to see. He probably would have gone the Speed Racer route, but I kind of would have liked to have seen it. All right, let's get to some. We still got more questions here. Let's see, Requiem Nocturne 1 says, "What is your favorite TV show?" Twin Peaks and The Twilight Zone. Already covered it. Thank you for the question. Jeffrey Schroeder 3104 says, "I am so surprised that you're only at 50K, but I'm glad you made it there. You've consistently been on the top of my list for a while now. My question is, what got you into film critique? Do you just really love movies, or do you have any background on the technical side? What kind of movies are consistently your favorite?" I've always been big into movies. I worked in a video store. I think that was a big part of it. I studied animation in college. I think that contributed to it as well. And I think it was during college when I became really obsessed with movies, and also because our college was right next to a theater that would hand out like promotional stuff for free screenings, so we would get to see movies early. Like I think we went to the early screenings of like Jackass, I think it was the second, yeah, it was the second film, and Mission Impossible 3. So we got to see those early, and I remember like watching them. It was like, wow, it was fantastic. I have a lot to say, and there aren't many reviews out right now, so I thought I'd write. So I actually did write some reviews on here's the thing. Back in the day, Rotten Tomatoes used to be a blog platform. Like it still functioned the same way, like it's still like collected critic reviews, but it was set up in a way where you could set up a profile on Rotten Tomatoes and give your own specific ratings for like fresh or rotten back in the day. And you would have like your own customizable little profile page. You could set up like a list of movies on the side, and you could attach photos from the movies to make your review seem more professional. It was really cool back then. All right, get some of the chat here. Have you watched HTF? I'm not sure what is HTF? I am blanking on that. Try to get back to me on that. Horsey says, "Enjoy your videos. What are your expectations for Supergirl?" I expect it to be fun, and it looks fun. I've read some of like Supergirl's the Supergirl comic run from where she goes to that planet so that she can get drunk because of like the way that it affects her powers. So I like the idea. I like the premise. I'm looking forward to it. I'm hoping it's good, just because we haven't got a critic screener for it, unfortunately, because I did want to review it. I wrote some album. Rumi says, "I wrote some album reviews back in college. Fortunately for me, they appear to be lost to me." I think even some of the reviews I wrote on Rotten Tomatoes were lost as well. Rotten Tomatoes TV show on Current TV, hosted by Brett from TYT. Yep, I do remember that. Wow, long time ago. See more AMA questions here. Salev88 says, "Mega congrats on 50K. Prior to expanding on YouTube and making essays, how did you get started as a professional movie reviewer?" I went to a bunch of critic screenings. I talked with other critics. I set up a blog, and then I found some publications to write for. And it's mostly just asking. It's like, hey, can I write for your site? And then I showed some stuff I wrote, and they were like, yeah, cool. Go for it. And then I got in contact with like my local critics groups and press groups, and just kind of went from there. So, just get in touch with people. That's the best way to do it. Like if you want to go up to like professional, if you just want to like review movies, like just on YouTube and stuff like that, that's just start talking, start writing. You'll find your voice. Uber Noodle says, "If you were going to a desert island and could only bring 3 movies with you to watch for the rest of your life, what would they be?" Oh, I have heard this question before. That's a tough one. I would say Playtime, because Playtime is a film just wonderful to just get lost in the visuals. The Apartment, just because I love the dialogue in that one. And Fantastic Planet, just because that tickles my imagination with all the weird sci-fi stuff in it. I would say those 3. Actually, no, wait. Let me take out Fantastic Planet. I would say Resurrection, because when I think about like the desert island, I think of like movies that you would watch for the rest of your life, and I would be cool with Resurrection. because I think that encapsulates a lot of what I value most in life is in that movie. Fairly recent movie, so that's like a in addition to like a classics, you know. Laminated 3, is that yeah, it's like Laminated 343 says, "Congratulations. Anyway, I was curious and wanted to know what creators inspired you to start making YouTube videos." Spill from back in the day, so Corey Coleman and Martin. That and you know, stuff like H Bomber Guy and Renegade Cut. I really liked his videos. Thought Slime, I liked his pacing and the humor in there. And trying to think of like some others from back in the day. Like, watched a little bit of ContraPoints. ContraPoints was all right. Yeah, I think those might be the primary examples. H Bomber Guy's pacing I love. So I love how confident he is with the jokes and his editing and the quick pacing and like the faith he has in himself. I think that's what I admire most in some YouTube essays is the commitment to it. Because like the biggest problem I have with some YouTube essayists is that they have this doubt or they feel they need to be a lot more genuine. Like I think for some YouTubers, they have this fear that they're just going to be plainly reading off a script and that it's going to sound too much like AI or like too rote with just the delivery that they have. And so like a lot of times I feel like they'll just try for comedy where like they'll flub a line, they'll keep it in, or they'll say like, you know, "Oh, is that wrong? Am I wrong? Roast me in the comments," or something like that. It's like have some faith. You know, if you know, people click on your video because they want to hear what you want to say. And I think a big portion of that is that you need to have confidence. I understand why people do that thing where like they try to like insert a joke or they try to like put in some of their faults here and there. And I think they do that, you know, to make it seem more human, more genuine. So it's not as, you know, artificially produced and you're not just like, you know, coldly reading off dialogue. But I like something where there's a little bit more control to that comedy because like a lot of the bits that I do write, I do stage them. I do take into account how they're framed, how they're set up. And there are a lot of takes where I'm not happy with them and I'll cut them out. And not just leave them in there. So yeah, that's like a little tangent I went up there. Runami says, H Bomber Guy's last 2 videos have been his best. Oh, for sure. He puts a lot of work into his videos too. I really appreciate them. And just like the research that he puts into them too. My goodness. In addition to the quality. So that's really good inspiration there to want to not just make videos, but make them better. You know, find the good pacing, find the good humor, find the important information that you want to convey, and put it out there into the world, you know? Wild Hop says, have you thought about splitting your essays up into different playlists? Anti-woke YouTubers, masculinity in movies. I have actually done it with masculinity in movies. There is like a general playlist that they're still under, but you can actually go to if you actually go to my YouTube homepage, there actually is a masculinity in movies playlist there for you all. I've been debating doing that for the YouTube profiles as well. I might do that eventually. And I was also debating about doing one just for like the more artsy ones, like the Despicable Me video and the Melania video. I feel like I might want a few more before I make that playlist. But yeah, there will be playlists for those. Man, I love your takes on insert jokes. Yeah, that's... I think, yeah, it's just like, I just... And it's not like I'm trying to be hard. It's just like, you know, like, you all have something to say, and I want you to be confident in it. I want you to bring some enthusiasm. I want you to be like, yeah, this is something I want to talk about. This is something I'm going to tell you about. The last thing I want is for somebody to get in front of the camera and just be all like, oh, here's what I got for you today. We're going to talk about this YouTuber, or we're going to talk about this current event or this trend. It's like, you know, put a little oomph into it. You know, it's like, is this something you want to talk about, or is it something you have to talk about, you know? And if it is something you have to talk about, it's going to come off inauthentic if your heart's not in it, which is the biggest problem. What movies are you planning on reviewing next? Supergirl, eventually. There are actually a lot of smaller films coming up. Like, there's one coming up on the Criterion channel called Romiere, I think it's called. There's also a lot of smaller films coming up, like Night Nurse is coming up, and then I think there's one with I think there's one with Angelina Jolie coming up that I've got a screener for, so I'm gonna see that as well. But in the immediate future, I have confirmed that yes, I am gonna be seeing the next Minions film and the Odyssey, so those will definitely be in the future. When specifically closer to the release date, yeah. Oh, well, we still got, how many pages do we got left here? Okay, so we've got 4 left. Okay. All right, I'll give my voice a little break here, and we'll watch another Clerk skit. This is a little bit of a who's on first type of skit here. This one isn't actually based on, like, a Clerk scene, from what I recall, but whatever. It's another fun bit I filmed.
Hey, who was the actor who played Thor in those Marvel movies?
Chris Hemsworth.
Oh yeah, he voiced Mario.
That's Chris Pratt.
The voice of Ernesto from Coco?
That's Benjamin Bratt.
The voice of Bob from Bob's Burgers?
That's John Benjamin.
That really tall guy from Monty Python?
That's John Cleese.
The guy from the future in the first Terminator movie?
That's Kyle Reese.
Well, what else has he been in?
Kyle Reese is a fictional character.
Oh, okay. Say, who played Kyle Reese?
Michael Biehn.
Oh yeah, he played Boromir in The Lord of the Rings.
That's Sean Bean.
Right, the actor who keeps getting killed in movies.
That's Sean Astin.
Yeah. So yeah, those are some little skits that I decided to film for this little celebration stream. And for all the patrons and YouTube members, big thank to you. And y'all got to watch those last week as they were finished. So I hope y'all enjoyed those. Those are just some little gags that I've been bouncing around in my head for a while, and thought I'd film them, see how they go. So little side thing. All right, let's get back to the list of AMAs that we got to get through. We got so many that we got to get through. Dokashi 6255 says, "What's I think you misspelled it here. What's minutes ago your thoughts on modern theaters? What are your thoughts? Oh, sorry, I put in the minutes ago there. Hang on. What's your thoughts on modern theaters? Do you think modern theaters will be cheaper like they were in the 90s or double O's, or will they be as stagnant as they are today?" I think if you're asking like the future, I mean it's hard to say. Like, theaters are still struggling. The box office is not high as it should be in past years. Like, we've had some big successes in the past few years with stuff like Barbie and Oppenheimer. And Spider-Man, of course, brought in some money. This year, it might be better. I think, it's hard to speculate on the box office, but modern theaters, I think some theaters are being more accommodating. And I think they're finding out what kind of works for them. In particular, like, I love the Imagine theaters because I think they have the right setup for that type of theater that does feel like it offers like a lot more. Like, because they have a bar and they have like food there, good food. They have like wood fire pizza there, which is really good. But it's also set up in a way where it doesn't feel too cumbersome, or it doesn't feel like it's going to like intrude on the movie watching experience. So I think theaters have improved. I hope they can proliferate. I hope they can succeed, because I don't know how many people are familiar with that, like, Marcus Theater has actually been buying up like a lot of theaters, because I remember they've actually bought a theater that I go to a lot, which used to be like the Showplace Theater. And before that, it was the Curaçao's Theater. And it was probably something even different more before that. Um, but yeah, it's hard to say. Like, I think right now, the box office is a little stagnant on certain films because, like, unfortunately, we're at this point now where sequels are the only thing that's kind of bringing in money. Like, you saw it happen last weekend. Toy Story 5 brought in $160 million on its opening weekend, which is really good, but it's also, that's kind of what I expect from a Toy Story film, you know? It's not a huge surprise, but it's like it's performing the way that it should, but it also means we're going to get more sequels. And a lot of people are, because you know what's going to happen. Like, you know, we're already seeing trailers for the live action Moana, and people are asking, like, why are we getting this? And it's like, because of nostalgia. That's why Disney keeps making live action films. A lot of people are like, oh, well, they would stop doing it with Snow White. It's like, no, they would stop doing live action films based on films from like decades and decades ago where everybody who watched them is dead. But something like Lilo and Stitch made nearly $1 billion based on something that millennials grew up watching. And now you have Moana based on an animated film from 10 years ago. So now the kids who grew up watching that now get to go to the theater and see the live action thing, which I don't know if that'd be a good idea. Because I think like the problem is that you have to target millennial stuff because like the millennials have children now. So they will bring their kids to go see much older films. So like, they would, if they could make like a more chipper Hunchback of Notre Dame, they would probably do that, but I don't think they went ahead with that. They'd probably do like a Tarzan. They'd probably do, what's another one from that era? Maybe Treasure Planet? Maybe? I don't want to say, like, Home on the Range. They would definitely not do that. Which runs into the risk because people say, well, why don't you just remake bad films? Because then we'd remake, that Disney would hear that. It's like, okay. And then they'd remake Home on the Range. And then everybody would have to remember how terrible that movie was. Laminated says, are you interested in making more videos about autism? Those are some of my favorite videos. Possibly. I think I just need to find a good angle for it. Because I've done theory videos, the danger of it, and the representation. I just need to find something else to pursue it. So I think maybe an aspect of ableism in certain depictions. Like I might. It's all just about whether or not the idea comes to me. Let's see. The TNT PvP says, I find the rise in YouTuber movies interesting, not because I think it's going to change anything, but more so the reaction to it. People seem excited more from more movies made by YouTubers, and I think, yeah, the reason that a lot of people flock to that is because built-in audience. Markiplier has a built-in audience that he can rally to go to the theater. Backrooms. Backrooms is a huge success because a lot of people are familiar with that phenomenon. They've been engrossed in it, and so of course they're going to flock to the theater for it. That's why I think a lot of people, when they heard the news that that A24 was looking through Reddit for something like the Backrooms, they're not essentially looking for the Backrooms or a gimmick. What they are looking for is a built-in audience. They're looking for a trend that a lot of people gravitated towards, that if they saw a movie for it at the theater, they would go see it, like the Backrooms. So essentially what you're seeing is like a different, what's the right word here? Like you're essentially seeing a different level of access that studios are trying to tap into that they didn't have recently. Because I think studios, they do recognize YouTube is something that you can draw from. They just haven't been able to find the best way to do it before. Now they have. They realize that, they just need to tap familiar talent to attempt something that's not as high risk, which is essentially horror. Horror films are historically cheap. They do make a profit. And if you, attach like something notable to it, that's also a good way to draw in a lot more viewers and bring in a lot of money. Because that was always like the biggest problem with trying to bring in a dedicated audience to a horror sequel, is that you spend too much money on it and you don't end up getting a lot of return business on people who are burnt out on something like, like Rings or Nightmare on Elm Street reboots. So that's what I think is what's going on there. Clorox Bleachius says, "Is there anything that you viewed previously that you've had a change of mind on with time?" Well, I went over Life Aquatic. That one hasn't aged well. In terms of like changing my mind, maybe I remember liking the live action Animal Farm, but I rewatched it recently because of like the new one, and I remember liking it a whole lot less. I think I remember I haven't watched it since like I was in middle school, and I think I liked it because I got to watch it in middle school, and it kind of related to the book. Peter Art says, favorite Cronenberg film. Have yet to see a lot of them, but my favorite is The Fly, and I also dug Scanners and Videodrome. God, Videodrome is tough to beat. Yeah, I'd probably say like Videodrome, and then maybe behind that Scanners, and then oddly enough, probably. Probably, what was it? The Shrouds, I think, might be my other favorite there. I was surprised how much I like The Shrouds. All right, we need to keep going. We still got more of these here. Let's see. Super Speed Raven 1 says, I always thought there was an unnecessary scorn towards TV movies and DVD-only movies. Are there any you see as particularly exceptional? Oh yeah. One of my favorite TV movies is The Pirates of Silicon Valley. Just because I love what it explored with Bill Gates and Steve Jobs and how they came to be, and they don't shirk away from like a lot of the darkness, which I think is kind of one of the interesting thing about TV movies is that they weren't afraid to be more blunt and scandalous. Like a perfect example of this is The Late Shift, which went over the tumultuous contract disputes between Jay Leno and David Letterman over being late show hosts. And I thought it was pretty good dynamic. I love the performances as well. It's got Kathy Bates in it, so yeah, that's another good one. It's tough to say nowadays because now there's TV there's movies that go straight to streaming services, and that's treated like as a TV movie nowadays. Unfortunately, DVD only movies. There are some pretty good stuff too. I do like Justice League: The New Frontier went to DVD only, and that I really enjoyed. There's a handful of DC Comics animated movies that went straight to DVD that I do enjoy. The bulk of them, if I'm being honest, are pretty terrible, but there are a few good ones here and there, especially in the early days where he had stuff like Green Lantern First Flight and the Wonder Woman animated movie. Those are good ones. GFBM13 says, what is your horror movie Mount Rushmore? Mine is Halloween, Black Christmas, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and Blair Witch Project. Ooh. Damn, that is a tough one. So, okay, it's like top 4 horror films that you'd want to see. Well, if we're doing like Mount Rushmore, I would go for like the icons that you would put on there. So, I would of course go for Freddy Krueger. That's an obvious one. Jason Voorhees, another big one up there. Now we get into the tricky territory. I'd say Michael Myers. Michael Myers would be up there. And then the final one would be Chucky. Chucky's films are, a much different type of horror character. He needs to be up there. In terms of like movies, like I would really have to think about it. It is always so hard to choose like an assortment of of your favorite from a genre, and I always blank on it. So I would say those are the icons that I would go with. Let's see. See if I'm pronounced right. Jonah Dunn 9594 says, "What is your opinion on your super early videos?" Oh wow, that was a lifetime ago, and they were they were made for the time. I will say, like, my early videos are where I exclusively reviewed VHS tapes, and it was just weird VHS tapes that I found at like the record store or a thrift shop or a video store that was, ushering out VHS during the mid 2000s. And I I filmed this during when I was in college, and I used the equipment that we had at the college. So what I would do is I would go to the cage that they had there in the morning, and I would rent out a high quality video camera, or at least the highest quality that they had there at the time, and a microphone. I'd bring it back to my apartment, which it was kind of weird to film in my apartment because if you look at it, the apartment is actually half beneath ground, so you can see like there's windows above there, and they actually go out into the street there. So I didn't have much lighting in that room, so I would always try to film during the day because that's when we had the best lighting. So I would film two of those, bring the equipment back to the school, edit in the editing bay there, put them on a hard drive, bring them back home in the evening, upload them to YouTube, and that was my Friday for a few months. Oh, it was wild times. It much different setup now. Obviously, the access that we have to cameras and microphones, a little bit easier. My thoughts weren't as great back then. I'll be honest, I was just trying to replicate the angry video game nerd and just make jokes back then. But it was fun, mostly because a lot of it wasn't scripted. A lot of it was just like my thoughts. They spill out as they come out, and then I think, oh well, this could be a fun bit here. So then I'd try to stage like a goofy bit around it somehow, with whatever was around, So yeah, that's those are my early videos. All right, Professor Stud says, something I love to ask anyone who's into film is, what is your favorite bad movie? Anything from a cult classic to a guilty pleasure. Ooh, God, that is a tricky one. I mean, we did laugh at like The Room a lot, but I mean that's like an easy go-to. Trying to think like a really terrible one that we would laugh at like a lot. God, I think maybe like The Room, or there was I'll tell you, I can think of a recent one. There was one called Moonfall, which is by Roland Emmerich, and it was so goddamn stupid that we were laughing at it so hard. Oh, another one, Cats. Cats is so fucking bad that I just. But the music is ridiculous with all these characters dancing around as CGI cats. It's just it was so much. It was so hilarious. I remember cracking up in the theater so much during that time. So yeah, I'd watch that ridiculous film again. Maybe. Oh, actually, I just thought of one. Xanadu. Yes, Xanadu is a weird ass trip. Okay, let's see. We got here we go from Sonia Fujimoto. She says, "Congratulations, Mark. What are your favorite books on film criticism?" Well, I brought up Roger Ebert's Greatest Movies. That's a good one. Pauline Kael's was like a 100 Nights at the Movies, something like that. Her book. I really like that one. I have like so many. I haven't finished all the essays in it, but I really like the Film Genre Reader book. This has a lot of great stuff in it. Like there's an essay on talking about immigration with Blade Runner. That's a fantastic little read there. If you're talking the technical side, there's I'm trying to think of like a really good one. Like there's one I have on like storyboarding that's really fun, but I like focusing on like themes a lot. This is a much older book, but is one that I've come back to a few times that I love. It's called Media Virus, and it's mainly going over how film, television, and even the internet in the 1990s fluctuated a lot with how it formed politics and how we relate to media. And it's pretty cool. Like this book actually talks about a lot of stuff that was a little bit ahead of its time, like the queer themes within in Pee-wee's Playhouse, and how forums contributed to elections. So this book I love reading. It's fairly dated. It's from like the mid '90s, but it's a wonderful book on just understanding how media affects us in our lives. So I can't recommend this book enough. Like I'm trying to think of like other ones. I have so many others on the side here. Oh, actually, I just thought of one that I have here. That is a good read. Kubrick's Space Odyssey. Since we're all talking about Kubrick, this is a wonderful book addressing both the story and the technicalities of Space Odyssey. So, wonderful little book. And I just realized I have this other book next to me too. Since we are talking about Kubrick, I might as well show off the Kubrick archives. Wonderful book to just flip through with all of the different photos and script notes and just high quality pictures like that. And a little, there we go. So behind the scenes, script stuff like that. Wonderful book to just flip through. And just get some insight into Kubrick's mind a little bit. So yeah. I'll read through some of the chat here. Do Disney adults annoy you? Not really. It's fine. They enjoy what they enjoy. It's like, is it weird? Yeah, but people say, oh, is it cringe? Kill the part of yourself that's cringe. Once you can do that, you can learn to enjoy life, you know? I don't mind Disney adults. Are they a little weird? It's not my thing. But yeah. I really want to check out Royal Space. The TNT PvP says, I really want to check out Royal Space Force because of your recommendations and your VTuber video, but I can't find it anywhere in Canada. Yes, unfortunately, it's a bit of a hard to find one because I believe it's still out of print at the moment, which sucks because the dude who did the score for that movie, he recently died like a few years ago. And I would think they need to make that movie accessible. Like, people got to have access to it. Thankfully, if you do want to see it, I typically wouldn't do this, but, you know, considering there's no other means of watching it, the Internet Archive over on archive.org actually does have a copy up there. It's actually a pretty decent quality for it because, like, the DVD quality for like the manga version of it is really not that good, but I think they got maybe that from like the Blu-ray copy. But it deserves to be preserved because everybody should go see that movie. To provide an opposite, what's your favorite, most whimsical movie? Mine is Amelie. Oh, that is a very good question. I guess maybe Playtime. Playtime is a little whimsical, just for Mr. Hulot. I don't know if I'd consider it whimsical because it's a little bit all over the place, but maybe Tampopo. Tampopo is just it has its charming moments. It gets pretty dark and violent at times, but it has a wonderful atmosphere to it. So I guess maybe Playtime would be my favorite whimsical movie, if it counts. But Amelie's a good one too. The TNT PVB says, I feel like we forget how much media consumes our lives and how media always has some kind of message, artistic or corporate. For sure. Which is why I love recommending that book, because that will open your eyes a lot to this topic. According to Lynn says, I have a poster of Mon Uncle in my room, by the way. Fantastic. That's a really good one. That and Hulot's Holiday. Wonderful films. Yeah, actually, I would say Hulot's Holiday, I think, is a little bit more whimsical than Playtime. Even though it's fun to just get lost in Playtime. Let's see, where were we here? here we go. Let's see. Vapor Versace says, "What's the first movie you remember seeing that made you say, 'Yeah, I'm doing this movie stuff for a living'?" Ooh, probably Princess Mononoke. Princess Mononoke had the biggest effect on me. Yep. Jude Robson says, "Congrats on the 50K, mate. My question is, what's your top 5 favorite movies of all time?" Off topic, but I used your article about Justin Roiland in my university work involving voice acting and got a pass from it. So thanks for that. All right, cool. All right, top 5 favorite films. Okay, I do actually have an answer for this one because I usually think about this because I usually always think, what's your favorite film in your top 5? My top 5 are not specifically in this order, but Playtime, The Apartment, Fantastic Planet, Tampopo, and, believe it or not, Superman, the 1978 Superman movie. So those are my top 5 favorite. Those are the films I love. Let's see. This next question comes from Eric Not So Sexy Olexi. Says, "Congrats. My question: What's a movie you've gained more appreciation for over the years, and vice versa?" Well, one that I already went over this, but I didn't really enjoy The Life Aquatic the more that I watch it. I think a movie that I might like a lot more. I'm trying to think of one that didn't appeal to me at first, but the more that I watched it, I kind of liked it a lot more. That's a good question. I'm trying to think of one that didn't resonate with me immediately. I'm just looking at all the stuff that I've got to the side here just to see if I can determine which one that has had like more of an effect on me. Because so many of these films, like I usually bought them because I loved them immediately, but then there are others that didn't quite stick out to me at first. Damn, it's tough. You know, oddly enough, some people might not believe this, but I didn't really like Spaceballs that much the first time I watched it. And I think that's just because I was expecting more Star Wars jokes. I was very young, but I grew to love it eventually. But I think that's more just like childhood, not getting all the jokes or not understanding the humor that they were going for. So I think that's where I stand on that one. Trying to think of one that I didn't like and have gained more of an appreciation for it over time. Oh, God, it is so tough. Because usually you just remember the films that you love immediately and then you treasure them and you hold on to them. Maybe, actually, now that I think about it, maybe Mission Impossible 3. I remember not liking Mission Impossible 3 when it came out. And then I've watched it several times since, and I've kind of grown to like it a lot more. Especially like Philip Seymour Hoffman in the film. Trying to think of one that didn't resonate with me. I've tried to watch Gummo. I've never gotten into it. I know why people like it. I don't. Yeah, that's the only one I can think of on that front. See, Assylvania said, "Congratulations, Mark, long lost son of Frank Zappa." Oh, yeah, fair enough. My 2 questions are: what are some of your favorite bad movies and least favorite good movies? Favorite bad movies? Well, I mean, The Room. Some of Uwe Boll's stuff is ridiculous, like Alone in the Dark. Manos, The Hands of Fate is always good for the MST3K stuff. In terms of least favorite good movies, movies that people, I'm assuming movies that people like that I didn't like is what I'm getting from that question. I don't know. I didn't really care that much for Joker, I guess. But I think a lot of people didn't as well. I'll say this: I wasn't really big on Begonia. As someone who likes Yorgos Lanthimos films, I thought Begonia was a pretty weak film, and I think it might just be because I've watched the original Korean film of Please Save the Green Planet, which I thought was good, but I didn't really see how much like Lanthimos could improve on it. So yeah, that didn't wanted to work for me. Uh, let's see what Aswini says. He says my list would be so long for both, so if you could just name a few. Okay, yeah, sure. The second question is also for anyone else reading this. Were there any good little local video stores where you were that you grew up currently, or that you grew up in or currently live in, and can you remember any of the details? And no lame old blockbuster doesn't count. I mean like a real mom and pop kind of hole in the wall nostalgic that kind of place. Nostalgic folks reminisce about Blockbuster a lot on YouTube because that's unfortunately all they knew. I grew up with it too, and now retroactively kind of hate the branding of it, of the pushing out the little video stores. Yep. I admit that I didn't know any better till Blockbuster started going out of business, and I meant no offense to anyone who got down with them, by the way. But the local shops, as ever, were usually way better and more eclectic, in my opinion. Oh, for sure. Now, I didn't have as many. There were a lot more. There were a few mom and pop stores, but it was mostly chains. Not even just chains. It was like grocery stores too. Like there was like Hy-Vee. Not there's like been a resurgence of Hy-Vee, but Hy-Vee back in the day used to rent videos. And I remember how they set it up because they would keep all the tapes behind the counter, and you would have to basically take like a plastic sleeve with the cover on it and bring it up to the counter and then rent it. But I remember like we did a Blockbuster. Hollywood came a little later, and then we had like Mr. Movies was a little smaller. But it was technically a chain. But there were some smaller mom and pop stores you went to here and there. I remember when I was in college, there was a small video store that I went to. It was so bizarre because the way that it was set up, it wasn't organized. Like the movies were all just spread out in all different categories. But what threw me the most was that there were imports and bootleg copies of adult movies. And they were like strewn about among all the other films. So you'd be looking through like drama, and then there'd just be like a porno in there. Or I'll never forget this. I saw I think it was like a French import of Fritz the Cat. I think it was French, but it had like all the explicit scenes on the back of the cover. And I'll never forget when I went into the store because one of the strangest things was that, I saw like all the pornos and the adult films, they were all out in the open on the shelves. They weren't hidden in like a back room that most mom and pop stores would. But this store actually did have a back room that you could go into for certain films. And I don't know what they were because all the pornos were already out on the shelf. So it made me wonder, what the hell is back there? And I didn't have the guts to go back there. So, but what I would do is I would hang around there and wait for somebody to go in. And somebody did. And I watched them go in. I watched them come out. And they said, that's fucked up. And I have no idea what was back there. I have no idea what was behind the curtain of this video store that had adult movies already out in the open there. So that was strange. Also, another small one, which we unfortunately lost about 3 years ago, was Video Universe, which is one of the last mom and pop stores in the Minnesota area. But I have seen, on a hopeful note, there actually is a movement to try to get a video store going again in the Minnesota Twin Cities. There's actually a crowdfunding for it. They've actually amassed like over 3,000 DVDs for this establishment, and I'm hoping it comes about because I think it'd be I really like to see like a resurgence of video stores, especially since now that a lot of people are retreating to DVDs as a simpler solution to streaming. I think it'd be good. it'd be interesting to have that type of environment again where people can hang out, because I've noticed there's been a lot of like little, there's like little libraries, there's like little video stores that people are doing now where you basically leave DVDs and can rent, leave a DVD, take a DVD, that type of deal. Pretty nice. The TNT says, I find the question about what movies should be turned into video games funny, because my favorite video game of all time is Tux and Fanny, a video game based on a movie/web series. Oh, I have not heard of that one. Says, thoughts on Poor Things? I love Poor Things. Wonderfully weird, bizarre. That's the type of Lanthimos I like. Although I would say I kind of like Kinds of Kindness a little more. That was his follow-up film, and I thought that leaned in a lot more into the weirdness, though. Mark, have you seen Beyond the Black Rainbow? I have. It's been a while. Been a long time, but I remember enjoying it. Let's see. Cyberback says, the insane lore people forget about Blockbuster is how they had movies edited specifically for them and a DVD pressed that was censored. Oh yeah, that's true. They had exclusives at the time, yeah, with Blockbuster. Oh, actually, okay, I've told this story before, but I'm gonna tell it for those who have not heard this yet. Blockbuster used to have exclusives where they said like, oh, it's only available at Blockbuster, and it technically wasn't true because Hollywood Video could go out and buy copies and then rent them, and we did that. Like the day that they would release, they would send employees out to go buy DVDs from Best Buy, and then bring them back to the store, put them in the system, rent them. So yeah, they weren't exclusive at all. Eat shit, Blockbuster. Not that I cared much for Hollywood. Let's see. All right. Where were we here? Oh, we still got it here. Animated 15 says, if you found yourself in your favorite horror movie, do you think you would make it? Probably not. I'd probably die. I'll admit it. Kayla Johnson says, love your channel. I'll always appreciate your inclination towards analysis and your willingness to highlight films I may have otherwise never heard of. As for the question, one, though not movie related, do you like to read? Of course I do. I have books all over the place. If so, what are some of your favorite books? Ooh. I enjoyed reading Dune. Dune's a great book. Let me see if I cannot make a mess here. That's what I'm trying to grab. Here we go. So I love the works of Kurt Vonnegut. So I've got some Breakfast of Champions, one of my favorite Kurt Vonnegut books. Slaughterhouse 5 I really like as well, but then I got Titans here. So Kurt Vonnegut stuff I like, and then I mostly like reading in terms of narrative stuff. I like reading sci-fi, so a little Neil Stephenson, Star Crash, Snow Crash. Why did I say Star Crash? Star Crash is a different film. Snow Crash, weird little absurd story there, and oh, that is gonna fall. Guys, I have such a mess of books and movies and all sorts of materials here. Oh, also, I guess I haven't talked about these before, but I also like having like little books beside me here that I can just like thumb through and stuff. I really like these little what do you call them here? These are like introducing books. I always like kind of like the little doodles that they have through here. So, a little existentialism, Kant, Chomsky, Slavoj Žižek. I read this a lot when I was coming up with my Siskel and Ebert essays. So I loved reading through this one. I always like having these little ones on the side of my desk here. So, mostly sci-fi. All right, the question continues. See, 2. You make quite a few videos about bad faith and/or lazy film criticism. What would you say is your biggest pet peeve from these critics? Just that they don't care about movies. I think more than anything else, you can tell by the way they talk about them They don't have a love of movies. They're just, appeasing an anger and a desire to disengage with media more than anything. Just complain about media, not find alternatives, not find good routes, just try to find ways to and just to make it a sport. Like they can never talk about a film they love without saying, "Oh, it obliterated this film," or they've destroyed Hollywood. It's like it's from a studio that's in Hollywood. Just it's ridiculous. I think that's what pisses me off. It's just like they don't care about movies. Not really. And that inspires other people to not care about them as well. That's just a big problem. All right. Okay, where were we here? Let's see. JC Alex says, "Congrats, Mark. So, what other YouTubers do you have planned to critique in the near future? I vote that you cover Lily Orchard's CD Call next. I've considered that. I just need to find a good angle, and I mostly focus on if they talk about movies more than anything. So they have a bit, but I also gotta find an angle with it as well. She is, let's see, Lily Orchard. She has had bad takes in the past, most notably on Steven Universe, but I'm pretty sure you'd have some valuable insight with her recent take on Studio Ghibli films. I probably would. I've debated it. I might cover Lily Orchard in the future. We'll see. There's a big list of stuff I want to cover. Me Being Annoying says, "Have you worn wigs?" Nope. This hair is all mine. Dan Teal Lightiru says, "Congratulations. My question is, what is a movie that doesn't get the recognition it deserves? Not entirely meaning an underrated movie, but more a movie that seemed to have fizzled out of public consciousness." When that has fizzled out of public consciousness. Maybe, that actually is a tough one. I mean, I still think about American Splendor a lot. I think maybe, a lot of people, I think some people talk about Fantastic Planet, but not as much as I'd like. I think that film has a much bigger impact on science fiction and my perceptions of science fiction than I think a lot of other films have. And keep in mind, I love stuff like Blade Runner and Star Wars and all that, but Fantastic Planet's really done it for me. But in terms of like a film that was kind of big that I don't think most people talk about, maybe that is a tough one. I don't know. Maybe American Splendor. I remember a lot of people loved American Splendor, but I don't think as many people talk about it nowadays. Swipsadai says, "Hey Mark, absolutely love your stuff. I was wondering if you'd seen Annihilation. I have, and if so, I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. Congrats." Yeah, Annihilation, amazing sci-fi film about a fear of, just like a fear of like a loss of identity and losing yourself, to this, strange alien or essence and organism. Just mesmerized feel. I remember like that scene happened where, like a piece of like Natalie Portman's blood comes out and, it starts forming, essentially like her manipulative doppelganger. And I remember like just the mesmerizing colors and the score. That was like the moment that I had been loving the film up to that point, but that was the moment where it's just like, nope, I love this film way more now. This is going to be one of those films I watch a lot more and think about a lot more. So yeah, beautiful high concept horror. Sci-fi. It does have horror elements, but more sci-fi than horror, I'd say. Justin Simpson says, "Congratulations, well deserved. My question for you is, what is your favorite Ingmar Bergman film, if any?" Ooh, I do have a few. Let me see if I can position the camera a little more towards here. but not towards the side there. Yep. Let's see. What is a good Ingmar Bergman film? You know, I mean, everyone chooses Fanny and Alexander, and it's hard to beat Fanny and Alexander. But God, you know, what is that? What's that one? What's it? Wild Strawberries is like I think one that that I really love as well. So I think besides Fanny and Alexander, Wild Strawberries probably my pick. Let's see here. Let's see. Oh, let's see. I'll read through some of the chat here. Chubb says the mere alien from Annihilation scared the shit out of me when I saw it the first time. I imagine so, especially since it incorporates all the themes at once into that moment, and it terrifies the hell out of you. So creepy. Riot145 says, 1455 says, hi, just want to say I love your videos, and they've helped me get back into watching movies on a regular basis, and have encouraged me to branch out into watching non-Western films more than ever. That is wonderful. Thank you so much for the congratulations. Yeah, and I'm glad you got more into movies. I'm glad I'm able to have an impact here. Have you watched Lois Sebastian's 2-part video on Chipchilla? I don't think I've seen it pop up in the algorithm. I haven't watched it yet, though. Frank says, least favorite Pixar film? Oh. That is a tough one. I mean, there are a few obvious ones, but I'm debating between Cars 3 and Brave. And I'm kind of leaning more towards Cars 3. Because I don't think it does a good job trying to stress the problems of Lightning McQueen, and like the torch passing I don't think really works in that film. So yeah, I have major problems with Cars 3. I'd probably say Cars 3. What is the best film starring Bob Hoskins, and why is it Super Mario Brothers? It's not. I have it right on the shelf right there. It's The Long Good Friday. That's the best Bob Hoskins role. That's not even the second one. The second biggest one is Mona Lisa. And then, of course, obviously, it'd be Who Framed Roger Rabbit, obviously. So, yeah. There's a lot more to Bob Hoskins than just Mario. Let's see. Let's see. Plix2304 says, as someone who's been watching for a while and is interested in film and media criticism as a career, what do you recommend for people who want to turn a hobby/love of film into a potential career? Congrats on 50K. I always look forward to hearing your thoughts on movies. I think it's mostly just like self-sustaining, that I think you have to have the drive to do it, you know. You have to have the ability to, you know, want to set up your blog, want to get your thoughts out there. And yeah, that's really all I can kind of tell you, is just, you know, like, commit to writing. I mean, like, what do you recommend for people who want to turn a hobby into a potential career? Yeah, just write and try to find out what other people do to make it part of their career. And if there are groups that do it, join up with the group, you know. Frank says, worst animated film that you've ever seen. Oh, damn, there's a lot there. Maybe is that direct-to-video Titanic animated film? That was pretty ridiculous. That was pretty terrible. Let's see. Countrylyn says, well, how do you... Peter Art says, fun stream, Mark. Gotta go now. Congrats, 50K. Excited for your stuff. Thank you so much for stopping by. I know we've been going along. We've got only 2 more pages of the AMAs to get for. See, from Chubbs, Mark, do you think it's possible for an English-only speaking audience to fully appreciate Kill Bill without subtitles for the Japanese, Chinese-speaking parts? My brother and I were arguing about this. I don't think the dialogue is that essential to understand it. Like, you could gain something from the inflection that I don't think you'd need it translated. Might be able to, considering the bulk of it is in English, you know. Carlos says, do you have any thoughts on Kung Fury? I haven't watched the new Kung Fury, but the first one is fine. It's cute, it's silly, it's ridiculous. I kind of dig like the hacking stuff and all that. It's charming. It's a charming slathering of like 1980s nostalgia that doesn't outstay its welcome. Okay, a Country Lynn says, I want to give a quick congrats on your channel. Some of your videos are not only informative and entertaining, but also full with nuance in a way that I haven't seen most review or essay channel try to open up to, and makes me want to improve with engaging media myself in a way that gives me excitement. Question is, what's your favorite scene in an animated movie or series in terms of analyzation with the medium? Here's mine. Clay Puffington's Crash Out from Moral Oral. The Toccata in Fugue segment from Fantasia. Let's see. And then he lists like Pink Floyd's The Wall. Let's see. Allegro non troppo. The Tale of Princess Kaguya. Fantastic Planet. Angel's Egg and Belladonna of Sadness. Oh my goodness. Yeah, there's, in terms of like a really good one to analyze, I think, God, that's a good question. I mean, like there are so many scenes in Fantastic Planet that I love to like think about. I guess maybe like the meditation scene where you see laid bare what the aliens of that world do when they meditate and they essentially transfer their consciousness to another planet. I think just like the implications of that and like the way that their bodies shift and the way that the humans find a way to counteract it. I think that there is so much going on in that scene that it's worth analyzing a lot. But I mean, you brought up like Fantasia. Like there's plenty to go over like in Fantasia, especially like as you mentioned, like the Toccata and Fugue segment, just of like the abstract nature of it, I think is wondrous. And I mean, and this is coming from somebody who spent a lot of time analyzing animation in school. I'd say a handful of scenes from Heavy Traffic are amazing to look for the implications about the cultural context of that area where Michael grows up in. So yeah, Heavy Traffic for sure is a good one to add there. Breakphonics says, congrats on the 50K. You deserve it. You make some of the most educated and high effort videos I've ever seen. I have two questions. Feel free to answer either or none of them. One, curious to know what some of your favorite novels are and or what are your favorite authors. Like I said, Kurt Vonnegut, Breakfast of Champions, great one. And also like, yeah, Neil Stephenson and actually didn't realize they had that here. I have some Philip K. Dick as well. Philip K. Dick stuff is wonderful. And the Neil Stephenson stuff, I recommended there. Let's see. And also a second question. What type of music do you listen to and what are some of your favorite albums and musicians? Notorious B.I.G. For rap music and MC Light. Joe Hisaishi for orchestral. I'll add some more in here, like jazz. I really like Les Claypool. And, Miles Davis is pretty good as well, but I think in addition to Miles Davis, I think I really like Bob James's music. You might know Bob James. He did the theme song to Taxi, and and electronica stuff. Like I love Carpenter Brute. Carpenter Brute's the best. Let's see. Yee says, "Congrats. My question to you is, what is your favorite video to make out of all the ones you've done? Could be based on the subject matter or just how you enjoyed making it." Probably the Asmongold video. Just because I love trying out a few different digital effects and then the vomiting on cue and then continuing the dialogue with it. Just the little stagings of that. That was fun. I guess that and the Shadiversity video I think was a lot of fun too, with bringing out like my old sword and all that. So yeah, that was a lot of fun to make. President Clamp says, if you could talk to one of the content creators you have covered for your essays at a local bar casually, is there one you would be able to stomach? Personally, I think Chris Gora would be fine to get through. Maybe. Like, there are content creators who I don't really despise that much, who I would actually like to talk with. Like, maybe, because I went over, like, James Rolfe. Like, yeah, I'd love to get a beer with James and just talk movies. That'd be fine. Also, like, even someone like Saber Spark. Like, I don't think Saber Spark's being disingenuous. I just don't think he's saying a lot. I'd like to hear him talk actually more about his thoughts on videos instead of just, giving like the general gist of it. Who knows? Maybe if I did hang out with him at a bar, I might get some more out of him. So possibly a Saber Spark, I guess. Soda Ghost says, congrats on 50K. That's a huge milestone. On to my question. Have you ever thought about giving your honest critique on an indie animated project or pilot? Kinda. I'm a little hesitant too, just because I'm much more lenient on independent projects, just because they take a lot of work. I know how much money gets tossed into them, and I debate whether or not to say something about them for fear that they might not take off in the way that they're hoping for. Because a lot of indie films are very, grassroots type deals and how they kind of rise in the ranks. And it's one of those things where I feel like I kind of do have to be honest, like if an indie film isn't working, and I am that way when I go to like film festivals and stuff like that. But with pilots, a little bit hard to say because that would be like a make or break moment. So I don't know if I would lean into that as much. Maybe here and there if it was like a bigger project, but for indie projects, I'm a little bit hesitant on, just because I don't know if I want to break whatever like commitment that they pose to it, Although who knows? There's a lot more that are rising up in the ranks nowadays. He continues, the scene is growing more by the day, and while a lot of us in the scene are young, I'm curious to see what some of my favorite ones can improve on so I can learn. The Amazing Digital Circus, Metal Family, Ed's World, and The Knights of Guinevere are my favorites at the moment. Yeah, it's I'm debating. Like, if they take off, like I might take them more critically, but as independent productions, I'm a little iffy about wanting to stress, because sometimes you can't really tell by a pilot. Pilot could be absolutely terrible, but then the show starts and it could actually be really cool. The TNT PvP says, I really want to watch Mad God. That film looks so good, but I haven't gotten around to it. Oh, it is. It is weird. It is weird, and it's dark, and it's slimy. But if you like I'll say this: if you like the Tool music video that had stop motion, and want to see like a full movie made out of that, that's you need to check out Mad God. Mad God rocks. All right, let's see. Freddy's3715 says, firstly, I want to say your channel has quickly become a new favorite of mine to watch with your mix of film analysis and the occasional takedown of culture war grifters. I really appreciate that you try to keep a balance as to not lean too far into those types of videos, and while also not ignoring the impact those kinds of channels have on media discussion as a whole. My question is, are there any online independent film series that you consider doing a video on? Yeah, that's a tricky one. Not... Yeah, like I said, it goes back to the same one. Like, not specifically. Like, if they... Here's the thing. If they do reach out to me and say, like, hey, we made this, would you like to review it? I wouldn't turn it down. I'd say, yeah, I'll look at it. I'll write a review on it. But it's one of those things. Yeah, I'm a little bit hesitant because I do have a lot more sympathy for indie filmmakers and directors. So, Boywaif says, advice for beginners in regards to writing film criticism / reviews: read a lot, watch a lot, write a lot. I can't tell you much more than that. You'll find your voice. Keep trying. Don't give up. Wild Hops Wolfington 7456 says, is there a chance you'll divide your essays into separate playlists? Yes, that is happening. 2, on a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rank the following podcasts? Big Picture, Blank Check, and Rewatchables. I have not seen the Rewatchables, but I have watched Blank Check and Big Picture. I'd say maybe Blank Check just above Big Picture. Big Picture does have it does have some good takes every now and then. Stuff I do disagree with in some parts. I did actually really agree with the Big Picture on Free Guy. I love that actually. Like, he actually did pick up on the bigger philosophical implications of Free Guy that I found just fascinating. That immediately made me gravitate towards that film, and I was like, yes, the big picture. Like, he gets it. Somebody else gets the philosophical implications of this that I find so refreshing and cool. It's Tron if it had more thought placed into its philosophy, you know. The Optimus SHR says, is there any genre of film you find you like more than others? That is a good question. I do enjoy horror films, I guess. Sci-fi films I have a soft spot for. So the fact that we got a lot of crowd-pleasing sci-fi films this year with stuff like Disclosure Day and Project Hail Mary, I think is a good sign. And we haven't got a lot of like really like harder science fiction films, and like Disclosure Day and Project Hail Mary, they do actually feel like hard science fiction that was boiled down to be more digestible to a general audience. But at the same time, if that gravitates more people towards science fiction, I would love that. So yeah. And the second question is there any genre you find that you dislike more than others? That's actually a good question. I want to kind of say romance, just because, and it's not that I don't hate romance films. It's just that I think a lot of romance films entirely hinge on the acting and the character chemistry to make them work. And I feel like a lot of films don't find that. And a lot of, especially like rom-coms, I think they don't find the best avenue for humor that plays to those characters. It just kind of feels like they're gags tossed in there on top of like the characters. There have been some better films in the past few years that have done it, like No Hard Feelings was pretty good. And what was that one? Anyone But You was all right. These are not great films, but I think they do have a decent amount of gags that work in with the charisma. But so often I see rom-coms and romantic dramas that really don't try to make that character chemistry work as well. And there's so many of them too nowadays that I feel like that when there is a romance that works, I'm excited because it's like, yes, that really works. Like, I really liked We Live in Time. I thought that was a film that worked out perfectly. For just conveying the smaller moments of that relationship. That's what I like to see. See, from the chat here, Supernavi says political thrillers kind of slap in the year 2026. Yeah, some political thrillers. Nice Indian Boy was really good. Oh, I've heard really good things about that. Country Lynn says Belladonna is my favorite, but I am scared mentioning that as a favorite, and I'd feel someone would ask me for it is a strange one, but I understand why you like it. I can't fault you there, let's see. What is the next question here? From BJ Tick says, is Cars 2 a masterpiece? Nope. Not the worst Cars movie, but it's not a masterpiece. Gabby George, 1996 says, where did you grow up? In the U.S. Minnesota. We got a Minnesota accent. Gabby George, 1996 again says, what got you interested in films? Video stores. Also, would you ever consider doing a crossover with the likes of Decker Shado, Media Hunter, and Bob Chirot. I have only heard of Decker and Media Hunter. Um, maybe. I don't know. It depends what we're talking about. I'm trying to get more into collaborations with people, so who knows? Uh, Sound Phasey YTP says, "What advice do you have to beginners who want to review stuff or make video essays? Watch the stuff you love, try out stuff, find your voice, read a lot, write a lot. Can't stress it enough." See, F4GNT GN3T0 says, "Okay, so like this question will age poorly in a year or two, but are you optimistic for the future of DC and Marvel?" Marvel, not so much. I think Marvel's mostly going to coast on what works, which is going to be familiar stuff, which is why they're bringing Robert Downey Jr. back for Avengers and why we're getting another Spider-Man movie, because those films, I predict, will probably do pretty well. But that's because they're sequels. And as for like DC, I think DC is going to do better. I think it's not going to be like huge as Marvel. I think it's going to have to work its way up. But the fact that DC is trying new stuff and trying different characters and not just going back to the same old stuff now and then, especially with what James Gunn's working on, I think it might. I think DC has a better future than Marvel ahead of it. See, yeah, and then love your work. Thank you so much. Keep Guy says, "What advice? What do you got here? Lost my place. What advice would you give to someone who is starting out as a film critic / reviewer? Read a lot, write a lot, and watch a lot. Can't stress it enough." Thanks for the congrats on the 50K. Chain Stink Fence says, "Okay, so first of all, major congrats. I love your videos. You do excellent work. I know you are obviously mostly a general movie guy, but my question for you is this. If you had to pick one, what is your favorite of the big two, Marvel, DC, comic book movies? If not, what is your favorite comic book movie in general?" I guess I'll answer both here. For DC, that's easy. It's Superman from 1978. I love that film. It always warms my heart. I never, if I have like a bad day, I can toss it on and I can just feel wonderful with Christopher Reeve's performance. As for Marvel, a lot to choose from, but I got to go with Spider-Man 2. Spider-Man 2 just actually, you know what? No, I'll change that to Across the Spider-Verse. Across the Spider-Verse really worked for me, and I love the implications of doing your own thing. I think that's the coolest shit. But for a favorite comic book movie in general outside of Marvel and DC, I would say American Splendor. Fantastic adaptation of something you wouldn't expect to be made into a movie, but it is, and it works fantastically well. If you have not seen American Splendor, do yourself a favor and check it out. Emil Shepard 1249 says, "As someone that aligns with your takes both on a film level and politically, are there any movies you love where you vehemently disagree with the messages, politics of the movie?" Oh, plenty. There are plenty from the 1980s that I disagree with. I disagree with the premise of Rambo First Blood Part 2. But the action is still cool, and it's still exciting. I disagree with the deregulation politics of Ghostbusters. I don't think its Reaganomics focus really is a good political and philosophical message, but the film is still funny. Yet I still enjoy it, and I think that it's good to be very honest about what doesn't work on that level, so that you understand where somebody is coming from, and understand what makes you like a film, and what makes people gravitate towards a movie with politics that don't align with your own. And it's a lot more black and white nowadays, but years prior it was easier to see that bleed over here and there. Let's see. Val GV3VU says, "What, or rather, who decides if a film is great? Like classic films that eternally remain in the consciousness, or public and culture? Do you think it's the audience, the critics, or a combination of both? Combination of both. I think as you know, ultimately, whatever decides what rises to the top is ultimately up to culture itself, and that is a combination of both like the audience and the critics as well. Because there are movies that critics despise, and some of those movies actually turn out to be pretty well. You know, perfect example, like Kung Pao Enter the Fist. I enjoy that film and laugh at it a lot, but critics didn't really like it. So, but it still stands up, and I think just in general, there's a lot of other forces too. Like there's box office, there's repeat viewings, there's dedicated fan bases. Ultimately, it's a combination of both. Radman Stan 413 says, what would you say are some movies that you really admire personally? Not necessarily favorite movies of yours that you appreciate on a technical level, but random movies that for whatever reason you have a strong emotional attachment to. Oh, well, I mean, I would hope that a lot of people, if they have favorite movies, they have a personal attachment to it. But like I said, one of my favorite films is Playtime, the Jacques Tati film. And that is a personal film to me because that came out. I watched that at a time in my life where I was living in the city, and I was terrified to go out and experience the nightlife. Not because I was worried that it was dangerous. I was terrified of people, and I didn't know if I was willing to go out and experience the city. And then I was watching a lot of movies at the time, and then I came across Jacques Tati's Playtime. And here I was watching Mr. Hulot just navigate around the city, not even really talking to anybody, just hanging out, just pointing at stuff, just saying like, oh, yeah, I'm here. And then just like kind of easily just shifting between like offices and conventions and being led into people's apartments and hanging out at a restaurant and going into a shop. And it's wonderful to just, to hang with Hulot and kind of almost feel like a fly on the wall, just hanging back, because there's so much going on in Playtime that you have to pull back, and you will not see everything in this film the first viewing there, because there's always like 3 or 4 things going on in the background and 2 or 3 things going on in the foreground. There's so much going on in this film, and it's fun to just hang back like a fly on the wall and just take it all in. And Playtime kind of taught me that sometimes it's nice to just like hang back and watch the city, but also get involved with it. Also just, trying to navigate it, trying to say like, let's not just look at it from a distance. Let's actually go inside. Let's see what we can find. Let's see who we might meet. Let's see who we see. And then I kind of got used to that. It got me used to, hanging out with more people. I would go out to bars and talk with more people. So Playtime has a very personal connection to me. That's why I love that movie so much. Snazzy Merlot says, can Superman outrun the Flash? You know what? I love Superman a lot, so I'm going to say yes. And finally, Claire is memed says, how many bodies are in your cupboard? None at the moment. I think I cleaned them all out. So, yeah. I think we're all good. What a question to end on. I think that was the very first question we got posed with the AMA. I'll read through a little bit of the chat here before we take off. I was saying Predators, basically CIA propaganda. Yeah, pretty much. Although I don't know, like it does involve the CIA betraying mercenaries, so I don't know. Let's see. Firing says, "Have you ever seen the Venture Brothers, and what are your thoughts on the show?" I love Venture Brothers, my favorite Adult Swim show, more than anything. Not to mention, it came out when I was in college, and that was like the perfect movie that show that helped me connect with my roommates. We all laughed at all like the geeky nods in this show. It was brilliant. Love me some Venture Brothers. Wild says, who had the best 7-film run, and why is it Rob Reiner? Damn, it's hard to beat Rob Reiner. I can't think of a single director who had 7 films in a row that were just all bangers. God, it's hard. It sounded like I was gonna say like Jacques Tati, but I think he only made like 5 films. It's not even that. See, TMT says comic nerd here. For talking about Wally West, he's actually so fast that he doesn't need to run. He lets the Speed Force move him. I mean, yeah, I just joking that, like, obviously, like, I've read, like, Crisis on Infinite Earths and Oil about how he's able to, like, speed through dimensions. Obviously, that makes him faster than Superman. I know. I read it. But yeah, it's, I love me some DC. Well, God, we've been going for, dang, over 3 hours now, so that's... Thank you so much, everybody, for coming to the AMA stream. I got through all the questions from the post we made. Hopefully, I answered a few in the chat here. I hope you all join us as we continue moving with this channel. I've got some more video essays come up. I've got one on the back rooms. I've got a long one on Melanie Mac. I've got to record at some point. And we've got movie reviews coming up of Minions and Supergirl. It's all coming up here. So, yeah, I thank you, everybody, like all the patrons, the YouTube members, and everyone who's subscribing here for getting this channel to like 50,000 subscribers. Huge shift from last year, and I couldn't have done this without all of you. And I really appreciate all the questions, especially the framing from people who are getting more into film criticism and getting more into watching movies. That is the core appeal of why I do this and why I want to talk about movies, just because I love them so much and I want to share that love with all of you and hopefully get all of you interested in wanting to go watch more movies and have fun with them. Maybe not all of them, maybe treat them a little bit more seriously. Enjoy them, I guess, is the best phrase. So yeah, thank you all so much for watching, and yeah, also I just want to mention, for those who didn't hear, I am retiring the movie review streams. Not the movie reviews, I'm still doing reviews, but the movie review streams. So I am going to be shifting more into covering movie news in the future, and maybe do like some gaming streams. I'll see which works out. Probably more industry news more than anything. I'm still working out how that'll be set up. So that's going to be coming up here soon. So yeah, lots of stuff to look forward to in the future. And if you want some exclusive videos, be sure to check out my Patreon in the link below. That'll give you access to exclusive videos, including all the Clerk skits that we watched in today's stream. So those are kind of like a little fun project to work on. So there's lots of other fun stuff like that over on Patreon, and YouTube members get that as well. So thank you, everybody, for coming on the 50K AMA stream. I hope you all have a wonderful summer. There's plenty more movies to talk about. So until next time, have a good one, everybody.